All right, thank you. All right, good evening. I would like to call to order the regular monthly meeting for this evening, August 3rd, for the Haymarket Town Council. Roll call, please.
Casanello.
Present.
Morrison.
Here.
Gallagher.
Here.
Pater.
Here.
Capicella.
Here.
Vianney.
Here.
Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. So tonight's invocation will be given by Reverend Don Meeks from Greenwich Presbyterian Church.
There we go. Thank you, friends. Good to be with you again. Let us pray. Blessed are you, O Lord our God, King of the universe, who has given us to live in this great and free nation, this Commonwealth of Virginia, and in this community, Haymarket, that we call home. We know that your word beckons us to seek the peace of the city in which we live. And so we thank you for these servants who have answered your call to service and stewardship. Grant them wisdom and humility tonight to anticipate the impact of their discussions and decisions. Grant them gracious spirits and bridled tongues in any times of tension or disagreement, and grant them protection from discouragement, fatigue, cynicism, and anger, and protection from all things harmful in this world. And please bless their families who make a quiet sacrifice that few will notice. Be with those in our community who serve as first responders in law enforcement or in the armed forces, and grant favor upon all who call Haymarket home or who work here or pass through in need of rest and hospitality. Let working together, your will may be done on this portion of the earth as it is in heaven. We ask this in the hope and strength of your great name. Amen.
Thank you very much. All right, we do have two presentations this evening. Prior to that, we do have Senator Rome with us this evening, and without objection, I would like to add her to the agenda right after our first two presentations.
No objection.
No objection.
Thank you very much. All right, our first presentation is Brian Shires, thank you, from Creekside Armed Forces Veterans Club.
Mayor Patter and council members, thank you very much for this opportunity to speak tonight. And it's a pleasure to meet some of you this evening as I came in the door. I am Brian Shires, Regency at Creekside up Cat Harpin. That's where Creekside Armed Forces Veterans Club resides. So it's a new community, about 208 homes up Cat Harpin. And we've got, well, let me just advance this a little bit here. And we've got a Veterans Club with a very simple mission. Because we live in a 55 and older community with an active adult community, all the members in our Veterans Club have got gray hair and we're a little portly, but we all served at one point. So in our mission statement, we made it a point that we wanted to be able to serve aging military veterans. So that's where our focus is, and that's where our efforts reside in our mission statement and our purpose of our organization. We are a 501c3, just as the Gainesville Haymarket Rotary Club is as well. And we team with them a lot on various events, and I'm going to talk about one big event we team together on each year with the Flags for Heroes. As I said, this is our membership, 50 strong. We're very proud of the fact that we've got 10 Vietnam veterans out of that 50, which is a pretty good number. Some of them are aging pretty well, but for the most part, they keep us on the straight and narrow. Very small board of directors, like most organizations. Our board of directors have got a treasurer, we got a secretary. We do all the proper auditing. We're not a lot of Don't make a lot of money out of our organization, but we do support, and I'll show you that in a second here, Semper Canine, Flags for Heroes, Heroes Bridge, the USO, Toys for Tots, and of course our flag detail. When we stood up the organization now going on 6 years, we asked everybody, okay, what do we want to do to support our aging veterans? One of the members in our group said, a lot of those guys need comfort dogs. They need service dogs. So we found an organization called Semper Canine. We asked them if we can be of assistance to them. Little did we know that they had 30 acres of land donated to them outside of Quantico that needed to be cleared so they could stand up their training facility for these service dogs. So we put on our jeans and went out there and helped them clear that land. There was a lot of ticks, but afterwards, this is where they stood up their training and their exercise facility for these service dogs. And wasn't very much later, they had kennels in place. They had really nice facilities. And we kind of digressed from being log clearing, tick absorbing helpers to donating dog beds and leashes for the dogs as they come out of their training camp and they're handed off to their service members. So that's how we support Semper Canine. The other area that we support is the USO at Dulles. They don't have any appropriations. The food and the drink that's inside of those doors at the USO comes from donations. And every quarter we load up a back of an SUV with all kinds of sodas and drinks and make a quarterly delivery to the USO. We're kind of their sole provider right now and the USO, as you know, services not just veterans, but service members that are transiting to duty stations through Dulles. And they can come there, they can set their suitcases down, they can bring their family members in, and they can get a cold drink and they can get some snacks. There's a place for the kids to play when the kids are all being sent overseas as well. So we support the USO at Dulles. The other area, and this is a big area for us, is the Heroes Bridge Veterans Village in Warrenton. Heroes Bridge is an actual organization like ours that supports aging and elderly veterans. But the Heroes Veterans Village is a special place, and this is the architect's view. All these little yellow dots that you see here are single tiny units that a veteran will occupy. Now, the entrance process for a veteran to get one of these units kind of starts out with they have no spouse. They have no siblings. And they basically need a place to stay, and they'll qualify if they have a little bit of their own resources to help rent one of these tiny units. This facility will have 44 of these units. They'll have a common area, they'll have medical. And our Veterans Club purchased the rights to the fitness center and the cafe. So what we are working on is being able to outfit those two facilities that are going to reside inside the community center here. They haven't broke ground yet. It's going to be built in Warrenton. And this is a church that has donated the land. Here's the church over here. This land has all been donated. It's all been zoned. It's all been approved. And Molly Brooks with Heroes Bridge is going through the process of getting all the approvals. So this has been a big event for us, and it's taken several years to put together enough funding to be able to do what we promised Heroes Bridge we would do, and that's contribute to this Veterans Village. The other real reason I'm here today is to talk about Flags for Heroes, which happens every September in downtown here in Haymarket Town Park. Our Veterans Club teams with the Gainesville Haymarket Rotary Club, and we put together this event each year. And Madam Mayor, you've been invited to this last year, and we've got the police chief that has been invited every year. I mean, we bring in Senator Roan's been to that several times, a guest speaker for us, and we've really welcomed it. This is a picture from last year that, I mean, the field of flags is growing and growing and growing. So we're very proud of this, and we're starting to really ramp up quickly for the Flags for Heroes event. So what is it? As I said, we have teamed with the Gainesville Haymarket Rotary Club They are really the brains behind this whole idea. We're kind of the brawn. We help put the flags in the ground. We drill the holes, help get everything set up. But this is an opportunity for you to honor and recognize somebody in your family who is a hero to you. And it's open to, you can nominate a first responder, service members serving actively, or service members who have are deceased, family members. We have some folks that have nominated their spouse. They want to recognize them. Leaders that, really stood out for you when you were growing up as a young adult or in life. So what it is a chance for you to get the name of that member put into a program such as this. And then if they're still alive, or if they've passed in memory, their name is announced on the 26th of September at 5 p.m. That's a Saturday evening. And the Haymarket Chief of Police, Mr. Siebert, usually does the announcing, calling out the name. And if the person has deceased or is deceased, a bell rings in the background to let us know that that person has passed. But for you, it's an opportunity to really say, gosh, my dad served, my uncle served, somebody in the family served, somebody was a first responder, somebody was a doctor that worked in emergency rooms. My wife put up with more, whatever you want to say, she deserves to be recognized as well. And I have put my wife into the mix as well. We start the evening off with colors, of course. The Battlefield color guard detail from their junior ROTC does the colors. We have speakers where Senator Roan has spoken a few times. Madam Mayor, we're going to ask you to speak next year if we can.
Yeah, I love it.
We're gonna put a plug in for that. The Heroes roll call with the Haymarket Chief of Police does the roll call. And then at the very end, and this is pretty touching, is echo taps. And there's taps being played on a trumpet on one side of the park and echoed on the other side of the park. I mean, if you don't get goosebumps over that, you got something wrong. But that's how the event comes to a close, with echo taps. This is how, if you go home tonight and you say, I want to participate in Flags for Heroes, this is the website you go to. You just plug it, and it tells you the name of the person you want to recognize, and it'll, and it gives you an opportunity to just put your credit card down, and for $25, I mean, that's cheap. For $25 to get the recognition that you want for the loved one that you have in your mind, and in their memory that night in September. So I'll leave this with Kimberly, and make sure that gets out somehow. I mean, I don't quite know how you do that, but I know you do know how to do that. But it's brought to you by, and I have to put this plug in here, we have a series of sponsors that take care of our Rotary Club and our Veterans Club by helping us to pay for all the resources that we need to put on, like Flags for Heroes. And some of our big sponsors, QTS here, you recognize them from running the data centers, Age Landscaping, Home Depot, Wind River. We've got about 12 or 13 really very, very generous sponsors to help us out. And right now, at this very day, we are in the midst of regenerating that base of sponsors for us to carry us through to 2027. We do that from the middle of summer 26 through 27. And that's our logo up there. That's the Rotary Club. Great bunch of folks to work for. If I wasn't standing here talking to you, Mark Cook would be with the Rotary Club. But we really rely on our sponsors to get us through a lot of the things that require a little bit of funding for, like, in our case, the USO or the Heroes Bridge. And they come through, in gangbusters. So that's what the Heroes Bridge is all about. I'm sorry, that's what Flags for Heroes is all about. Can I answer a question or two, if there is any?
Yeah,
Do you have a
absolutely.
question?
Absolutely.
Yes,
Well,
sir.
First, let me say thank you for your service.
Thank you.
So when is your deadline for applying for a flag?
We want to have all the names in by the 31st of August.
31st.
That gives us time to get this to the printers and get it printed properly. So the 31st of August is our deadline.
Okay.
What else?
Yeah, that's important. And sponsorships, if anybody's interested in being a sponsor, who would they contact?
A sponsor for that particular event?
Yes.
I can be the sponsor for that, and I can make that happen.
Okay, great. Thank you, sir.
Any other questions?
Madam Mayor, thank you so much.
100%. It's a wonderful event. I have stood in the midst of those flags at sunrise, and it is very heartwarming. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah,
And
we'll
thank you
put
for
them
your
up.
service.
They'll be there up there on the 26th, and they'll stay up the entire week. Haymarket Town Park, gentleman there is Matt. He's great.
Matt is a good one.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He works for us.
He's all right.
Thank you very much. My
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, you're not a squirrel.
I was just going to say, the squirrel. Yes, exactly. Exactly. All right. Our second presentation is from the Capital Area Food Bank and their plans for the citizens in the Haymarket area.
Hi, great. Thank you so much for having me today. Thank you, Brian, for that presentation. I feel like I'm going to bring the mood down a little bit by talking about hunger. So that was a great way to start. But my name is Melissa Jensen. I work on public policy and advocacy at the Capital Area Food Bank. And I'm going to talk a little bit today about Haymarket and some of our plans here. Next slide, please. Oh, perfect. We got all the technology. Thank you. Okay. All right. So if you're not familiar with the Capital Area Food Bank, we are the backbone of the charitable food system in the region, and we serve most of the counties here in Northern Virginia, along as with cities like Falls Church, Manassas Park, et cetera. And so last year we distributed 65 million meals. Just to give y'all some context, we had planned on distributing 50 million meals, but because of disruptions in the area, like reduction in the federal workforce, the shutdowns, et cetera, we ended up doing much more. This year, we're planning for 70 million meals. Our peak during COVID was 77 million meals. So instead of that number going down like we expected after COVID, it is going higher across the region. That's for a number of reasons, like the ones I just mentioned, but also just because, as I'm sure you've noticed, food is really expensive right now, and the cost of living in this region is not easy either. So we are working with our partners. We have about 400 in the region. These are the churches. These are the food pantries. These are all of those like great places you see people passing out food. We help provide them with that food and give them that support so that they can then go to who they know is in need in the community. So I use the term food insecurity a lot. This is a quick definition. It's household level economic and social condition of limited or uncertain access to adequate food, meaning that if a household doesn't have enough money essentially to afford all the food they need to have full bellies, but also meeting those nutrition needs that they need. This used to be measured by the USDA. They announced last year they will no longer be measuring food insecurity, but don't worry, because the Capital Area Food Bank has been measuring food insecurity in the region since 2020. We will continue to do so. We use the same survey as the USDA. It's 10 questions plus 8 more if it's a household with children. And if you answer yes to 3 of those questions or more, you are considered food insecure. Like I said, we've published this report every year since 2020. We do it with NORC at the University of Chicago, which is a really great data analyst organization there. We have a much broader sample size than the USDA ever did in the region. So our numbers are higher than the USDA's numbers were because we were just talking to more people. And going forward, we'll be the only numbers for a little bit. So we will be releasing a new hunger report next month, September 15th, I believe. So we'll have updated data then. And unfortunately, according to that data, food insecurity in Prince William County is more severe than any other jurisdiction in Northern Virginia. About 29% experience very low food security, and another 15% experience low food security. So those two are both food insecure. And what we really found too is that the families that are food insecure are really facing trade-offs. It's what do I pay for if I can't afford all the food I need? And we always say rent eats first. you gotta pay for housing, you gotta pay the mortgage, the rent, whatever. And then after that, it's deciding what they're gonna go. So lots of people are running up credit card bills, unfortunately, going into credit card debt. People are cutting back on their medical care. What we see with families with children is the parents go with less so that the kids can eat. And since Senator Rome is here, I'd like to thank her for sponsoring the Universal School Breakfast Bill in Virginia every year. We will pass it soon, hopefully. That would help provide all children in Virginia with at least a school breakfast to get them through the day. But what we find is that these long-term impacts, these impacts don't only just hurt right now, but they're going to hurt your health long-term. They're going to stop you from being able to build wealth. They're going to stop you from being able to buy a home someday and pass on things to your children. And these challenges are being exacerbated by cuts to SNAP and Medicaid at the federal level. So 120,000 families in Virginia have lost access to SNAP since January 2025. This is due partially to legislation passed by the federal government, but also just some changes in the area. More law enforcement around immigrant families, for example, has caused many of them to stop using SNAP. And then there's another 18,000 that are at risk of losing Medicaid inside our congressional district here. And these both threaten access to food and healthcare and make all those challenges and choices that families are having to already make worse. So how we're responding is, like I said, we plan to distribute 70 million meals in the DMV region next year. We like to really focus on produce and protein on the food we are providing. We found that families, they're not having trouble affording rice and pasta. Like those are still fairly cheap. What they really have to skip out on is meat, dairy products, vegetables, so we are really focusing our money and our efforts and getting that to our partners and into communities so that they can use their budgets on things that are easier and cheaper to find. We're also expanding some of our programming like Food is Medicine partnerships. Food is Medicine is a new approach to food insecurity where we partner with the healthcare sector and they help identify families that are facing food insecurity and then we help get them the food. So right now we have 3 pilots that are we call them produce prescriptions, and there's a pantry at the healthcare system. And if someone's in food insecure, they're written a prescription for food. They go and they get a box of the food they need. Some of these are for the general population. Some of them are more targeted for people with chronic illnesses like diabetes. Also, we have one that's for expectant mothers and infant children. So they're just pilots. There's just 3 of them. We would like to expand this more and make this a model that we can see throughout the region as well. And we're always looking to improve our client feedback and expand our partner network. We know we're not reaching every single one who is passing out food. For everyone we're serving, we know there's another church that's passing out food as well. But we really want to find as many partners as we can because, like I said, we have this produce and this protein. We're giving away all of our produce to partners for free right now. We can give that to them, help support their food efforts because it's hard for pantries too. The food is not any cheaper for them than it is for the general public. And they are really seeing this increased need as well. And we want to be able to support anyone who wants to be a part of our network. So Haymarket is located in an area of high need in Gainesville. So these areas in the black here, they have food insecurity as high as 70%. Now, that's not Haymarket itself doesn't have a 70% food insecurity. It's all the region around. And now you might be looking at it and thinking, hey, some of that is farmland and some of that is battlefield. And yes, that is correct. But what that means is there are a few neighborhoods or apartment buildings with really high need that are then driving up those rates for the whole area. So there might not be like the numbers, like X amount of people might not be as high as some other areas, but that proportion is really high compared to other parts of Prince William County. And so we have 2 CAFB locations in the Haymarket region. They're both technically in Gainesville though, Haymarket Regional Food Pantry and Love Church. And so we're looking, at these, we're like, we need to get some food distribution right in there, right in Haymarket proper. So we've been working with Supervisor Stewart, and a big shout out to Chrissy from his team for working with us on this. And we are rolling out the Haymarket Mobile Market. Wow, that's like fun to say. The grand opening is next week, right here in the parking lot here. So thank you so much for working with us on that. The mobile markets are really great. They're kind of like a farmer's market style. It's set up and people can go around and choose the food they want. So there's a lot of dignity in it. You're not just being handed a box of food and then have to figure out what it is later. You get to go pick. It's a more fun experience. It's outside, when the weather's good, you can enjoy the weather. And then there's no ID required. There's no proof of income required. If you show up, you will be given food. And so once again, it eliminates a lot of that stigma that people sometimes feel around getting food. And it's right here in this area. So, maybe it's not that far from the Haymarket food pantry, but you just don't have the time to go there. You have kids, you got to get them home, take care of them. You can just show up at 4 p.m. Basically tell we run out of food and come get some food here. And that will be the second Monday of each month going forward. All right, are there any questions?
Do we want to start with you, Joe?
Sure. Thank you, Melissa, and welcome.
Thank you.
Appreciate your presentation. Earlier, you talked about produce and proteins.
Yes.
Are really your focus. As an individual, what can we do as individuals to help with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we are always accepting donations at the food bank, and that is really what helps us be able to purchase those higher cost items. And that we've been very successful in fundraising the last year, and that's what has really helped us meet the need. During the pandemic, we had tons of ARPA money coming in. We don't have that money coming in now, right? A lot of it is down to donations. You can donate food, or you can just donate money, and we can purchase it through wholesale partners.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I'm very excited.
I'm very excited too. I'm so glad y'all.
And I do like that you are working alongside the already established food pantries.
Yes, absolutely.
So, and a farmer's market atmosphere is really nice as well. So will it continue into fall, winter?
Yes, they are year round.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect.
And when the weather changes is not so great, we find ways to get creative, but they're year round. We have multiple throughout the region. They're very successful even when the weather's bad. So,
All right. Anyone else?
all right.
No.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We'll see you on the 10th.
Yeah.
Okay. At this time, I'd like to invite Senator Rome up.
All right, Council, Mayor, good to see y'all again for however many times this year. That's right, your state. Here's a sentence that you were always told never to like, but y'all gonna have to do this. My name is Dana Karam. I'm from the state government and I'm here to help. Have actually good news from the world of, did we get money for something? We got money for something. We got a lot of money for something. I don't have a presentation for the screen, so everyone at home is just gonna have to enjoy the fact that I have a face as opposed to this. But guess what, friends? Last month in July, the Northern Virginia Transportation Authority just did its latest tranche for its 6-year program. And they have decided to fund $65 million for the flyover of Route 15 over the railroad tracks right here in Haymarket. Now, yes, Mayor, thank you. So it is a big one. I was looking up some stuff the other day and I found news stories from 2015 and beyond talking about this $45 million project that Prince William was allocating. This is an $80 million project now because I want this to be a lesson to everyone in government, from the town council up to the governor and everyone in between. This is what cost escalation looks like. The same project that we could have gotten done years ago, had people been listening to some of us doing jumping jacks about this in Richmond, we could have gotten done in the 50s back then. Now it's an $80 million project. The county is going to allocate $15 million for it. The rest of it, the other $65 million, is going to come from the MVTA. I'm going to read to y'all a quote from our board chair, Deshauna Jefferson, who I asked if she could give us just kind of a brief statement. The reason I asked that is she is a member of the MVTA, which I served on for 2 years. Love to come back, but I'm not on it right now. And this is what our chair had to say. So from Chair Jefferson, the intersection of routes 15 and 55 are about to become a whole lot safer. That's because the Northern Virginia Transportation Authority recently awarded $65 million to Prince William County for the Route 15 Railroad Overpass and Improvements Project. It's an $80 million project with Prince William County picking up $15 million of the total price tag. I appreciate the Prince William Board of County Supervisors for pushing this regional funding for this project, and I'll continue being a vocal advocate for stronger transportation safety within the county. Personally, when I was a member of the MVTA, I served there from 2020 until early 2022. There was a time where they were having us vote to deprioritize this project, and they were going to prioritize the commuter parking lot in Woodbridge instead. I was the only member to vote against that at the time. And I understood why it was going through the way that it was, but I thought it sent a terrible message. And the reason that it's taken so long is a project like this that is mainly about safety. It never scores high when we're dealing with smart scale and when we're dealing with the MVTA for congestion mitigation. However, because I-66 is right there, 15 obviously is there, and 55, right up the street from there, you do have an ability to mitigate some congestion. But I want to raise a larger issue. What happened a couple times in 2019 when they had to do urgent and emergency repairs? Shut it down. What happened in 2022 where we had a car that got hit over there? Now, the person survived, but when we had a vehicle that got hit on those tracks, 15 south of 55, shut down. What happened just a couple years ago, or I guess it was 2023, right next door to there at Cap Valley, when we had the fatality over at that railroad track, right? The idea here that, it's a minor thing, it's not going to back up traffic. Safety problems there absolutely back up traffic, and they do it in a hazardous way. Because when you're backing up traffic, especially toward I-66, that's dangerous for everyone. We're going to have spillover traffic. That's why we have the diversion diamond interchange in the first place. So to kind of close this out, and then I'll take some questions for y'all here. I'll read what this thing actually, what the project actually entails, because it is multimodal, which is also cool. The project will construct, and this is from the MVTA site, the project will construct a consistent four railroad with shared use path that will be grade separated from the railroad track. Additionally, the project includes intersection improvements that will increase intersection capacity and throughput by increasing the number of turn lanes at Route 15 and 55 for traffic accessing I-66. The project's widening of 15 will eliminate the current bottleneck caused by the temporary narrowing of the roadway, serving high volumes of traffic across I-66 just 0.3 miles away. This congestion is further exacerbated by closures for freight trains traveling on the Norfolk Southern Railroad, which will be eliminated with the overpass. The overpass provides substantial safety benefits by separating at-grade movements and mitigating congestion-related rear end and angle crashes. Pedestrian and bicycle facilities currently terminate on Route 15 South at the railroad track at an abrupt dead end on the north tracks at Route 55. The project will construct a 10-foot asphalt shared use path connecting the existing facilities over the railroad tracks and create a consistent 4-lane road with bicycle facilities for 6 miles between 234 Sully Road in the north and Thoroughfare Road in the south. So this is a big win for Haymarket. I want to say thank you also to Councilmember Passanello because we actually teamed up on writing some letters to the county and to even actually to the United States Secretary of Transportation, trying to request money for this project. And so this kind of comes from the department of, I don't care where the money's coming from, just get us the money, and we got the money. So yeah, happy to take any questions. Mr. Vice Mayor.
How are you doing?
Well, delighted. I
good
just
to
got
see you.
$65
You
million
seem
to
very
talk
happy.
about. Yeah, really
Yeah,
happy.
I don't think I've seen you this happy in a while.
When 28 is done, that's going to be the day. Okay. But anyways, yeah.
Question I had was, and this is great news. this is something that's long overdue. I think we all probably acknowledge that. What's the timeline, and do you have any kind of best guesses on what the impact to the local businesses that are right there during the construction phase?
Okay. So as I'm looking on the page for this, considering that the that this is for the 2024-2029 six-year program. It's highly likely this is going to be just based on years of observation as opposed to knowing what they're going to do, like what day it's going to come out on
Yeah,
this one.
that's-
I imagine the money will be available by 2029. So within the next 3 years.
Okay.
Because that ends the funding cycle for this. And so and the thing is, because of cost escalation, they don't get a chance to really sit on that money for a long time. This is why it's a 6-year program, because if you go on beyond that, you're just going to have to come back and ask for even more money.
Right.
So one good thing that we could all do, myself as a legislator, y'all as council, is we can always send a letter to the powers that be, whether it's VDOT, whether it's whoever else, asking them to expedite delivery of this to make sure that this already expensive project, and I was very nice because I didn't use any expletives as I said that phrase, doesn't get more expensive.
Do we know how long the project would take for completion?
I don't know how long the duration of construction would be, but I can follow up with probably Paulo and Rick from Department of Transportation in the county and get back to you.
Okay.
I'll make sure that we get an answer for that.
Jen,
I was just going to mention, so I met with the county last week. They're projecting a start of FY 2030, so it is a little ways out, but they're hoping to expedite it. They've also reached out to VDOT to see if VDOT would help put pressure to expedite and start it sooner, hoping maybe FY 29, and then they were projecting a several-year timeframe. So we are already in conversations with the county, and we can add that to our reporting as well.
And just for the people watching back home, because not everyone always knows what the FY means. So basically, that's the start of the fiscal year. That means July. So FY 29 would be July 1st, 2028. FY 30 would be July 1st of 2029.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else?
Yeah, just wanted to thank you for all of your effort and hard
course.
work and for the accomplishment, and Joe as well. So Joe, the next thing is trying to find funding for flyover Washington. Right? I'm sure you'll be successful in that.
Well,
Right.
That's a little bit of a stretch. But if I may, thank you, Danica. Senator Rome, this is really big news for the town and for the area of Western Prince William. I mean, she's been working on this for a long time, and it's really nice to see it come to fruition. But we got to get it built.
That's right.
So whatever we can do to kind of push the county and others to, accelerate the process would be really in our interest to do so.
Absolutely. And I'll be happy to write any letters I can to, support the efforts of the town.
And there is another couple of benefits. I'm sure Norfolk Southern is going to be very happy because that reduces their maintenance costs and increases their throughputs. But it also helps us in the town, maybe down the road, with a quiet zone, because that will help us in our calculation of the QZRI index to help maybe get that quiet zone eventually implemented.
Just since you're a train guy and this is coming up in conversation, how does this project, a quiet zone, how does all of that impact the grant that the county just received for a pedestrian connection across the railroad at Old Carolina?
I don't think they're related, to be honest with you.
Okay. It wouldn't keep us from getting a pedestrian crossover there, is more my
Here
question.
at Carolina and Washington Street, no, I don't think so. I don't think it'll impact that because they're separate projects. But it'll help us with the quiet zone because it'll reduce our index number for that, which is what happened when we had that accident.
Yeah, that's right.
What year was that? 2019?
That was 2023.
2023.
Yeah, it's that February.
That just knocked us out of the calculation. So
Yep.
Yep.
That's great news.
Thank you. Anyone else?
All right, Mayor.
Thank you so much.
Mayor, train guy, council, appreciate y'all. Thank you. Thanks, Steph.
Thank you. That's your guy.
That's very exciting, very exciting. Okay. So now we're going to move on to town council vacancy application and interview. At this time, I would like to announce that the town council has received an application for the town council vacancy. The vacancy is from the resignation of Justin Baker, and I would like to invite Jen Schenk up to the podium for a brief introduction and to give council time to ask a few questions. Welcome.
Thank you. It's nice to be here. So my name is Jen Armstrong Shank, and I live over in Haymarket Station. I've been a resident for almost 10 years. It'll be 10 years in February. Not originally from the area. I'm from Southeast Virginia, and Virginia Beach is where I was born and raised. So newer to the area, a job brought me to DC. I've worked in federal politics and federal public administration for the last 22 years. Right now, I know Joe's a train guy. I'm a barge girl, so I work maritime transportation is what I advocate for with a nonprofit in DC. So that's my day job, but I've been looking for opportunities to get more involved with my community. I think that the best way to do that is to be a part of the process. I've had some limitations with that. In the past, I spent 12 years with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. I was recruited by the United States Senate as a federal appropriator for energy and water focused on maritime water resource policy. And because I was politically appointed, I was limited in my ability to work at a local or state level. So now that I am out of that limitation, it's a funny story actually how I got here was, I think it was 2 years ago, we were coming from the police night out over at Town Park. I live across the street. And at the time there was no crosswalk. And this was, if you ask my husband, the bane of my existence, because we would go over to the park and it was always really dangerous to try to cross that area right there. And I made a comment to my husband. I was like, maybe I'll run for town council just to get a crosswalk. Well, unbeknownst to me, Joe was right behind me. And of course, he made sure to introduce himself and to explain the process and where I could do that. I'd already missed the cutoff. It was August, and I think the cutoff that year, as usual, is just June. So I made sure I didn't miss it this year, and I am hopefully on the ballot for this next election. And then, of course, hearing that there was a vacancy, I thought I would see what this was about before that came around. So that is my story, and I'm looking forward to any questions you have.
Well, we are very excited. So thank you so much for being here. Does anybody have any questions?
Just thanks for stepping up.
Yes.
Great. Looking forward to it.
Do we want to talk about the process a little bit going forward? And what's the next?
So since we received her application, we have made it known to the public that we have received an application. You cannot take action for 7 days. So however you can, even though it's not suggested, but you can take action at your August 31st work session if there are no other applications come forward.
So can we direct you to put that on the agenda
Yes,
for the
ma'am.
31st?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Great.
Everybody okay with that?
Yeah, since we're so close to, I guess, the elections,
There
are we
is
still
no need
required for a 45-day
There's,
turnaround?
yes, still required to appoint within 45 days, but of course, no requirement for a special election because your next election would be your election.
So that's the turnaround, is we don't have to do a special election, we can appoint.
Correct.
So we'll have that on the agenda for the 31st.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any questions on this side? No? Any questions for us?
No, I'll work with the town manager and get some information on the process, and I will see you all on the 31st.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Wonderful.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You all grilled me harder than her.
I was it was like, what?
Because it was me, right?
I was like,
I see
what was
Matt's
that?
response there.
I do want to make one statement, though. Councilmember Capicella cannot say that he's the new guy after this.
That's right. That was noted.
Which means, no more spreadsheets. Oh, darn.
Okay, so that brings us to citizens' time. Is there anyone wishing to address the council this evening? Please come up to the podium, state your name and address. No? Do we have any emails?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Bear with me. You have a copy of all of them. But I will be reading them into the record as they were sent in. Okay, I'm gonna start with the shortest one. This one is from Carmen Sabia of Ghosted Concepts and Cookies and Cream. Dear Town Council members, I'm writing to reiterate our support of the rezoning proposal at 14600 Washington Street. We believe this is an excellent plan that serves the entire community. While no plan is perfect, this proposal effectively addresses everyone's needs, and any further modifications could negatively impact local businesses and residents. Developers have demonstrated complete honesty and transparency throughout this process. They genuinely care about the community and are actively working to retain existing businesses, providing them with the opportunity to remain part of the development. For many of us, this project represents our best chance to stay in the town. Furthermore, Siobhan is a local resident who's deeply invested in ensuring this project achieves the best possible outcome for our community. Thank you for your time and consideration. Best regards, Carmen Sabia. Next one is from Jason Doucette, owner and head instructor of Battlefield Jiu-Jitsu. To the Honorable Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of the Town Council, I'm writing in support of the proposed Schoolhouse Commons redevelopment project. After reviewing the proposal and considering both the current conditions of the property and the long-term interests of the town of Haymarket, I believe this project represents a thoughtful and appropriate balance between preserving the town's historic character while promoting responsible growth. One of the greatest strengths of the proposal is its balanced mix of residential and commercial uses. While the project includes approximately 50 residential units, I believe this mixed-use approach will ultimately generate less traffic than the property's existing commercial zoning and would likely produce if developed to its maximum potential. A fully commercial development could result in significantly higher daily vehicle trips throughout the day, placing a greater burden on adjacent roadway and intersections than the proposed mixed-use plan. The project also provides an opportunity to revitalize an existing building that has long been in need of significant improvement. Rather than allowing a historically important structure to continue deteriorating, this proposal invests in its restoration and continued use, ensuring that it remains an attractive asset to the town for years to come. Equally important are the public safety improvements incorporated into the design. The proposal addresses existing pedestrian crossing concerns by improving pedestrian circulation and reducing conflicts between vehicles and foot traffic. These improvements will create a safer environment for the residents, visitors, and patrons of the surrounding businesses. The redevelopment also enhances vehicle access to the site by improving ingress and egress to the existing commercial areas. Better traffic flow within the property will reduce congestion, improve circulation, and provide a more functional layout for both businesses and their customers. Additionally, the proposed parking configuration is a substantial improvement over the existing arrangement. By providing parking at both the front and the rear of the building, visitors will have more convenient access to the businesses they are patronizing. This balanced parking layout should reduce unnecessary vehicle circulation while creating a more efficient and user-friendly experience. Perhaps most importantly, I believe the proposed use is consistent with the historical significance of the property itself. Schoolhouses have traditionally served neighborhoods and residential communities. They were built as community institutions within places where families lived, not as the centerpiece of large commercial developments. Incorporating residential uses alongside carefully planned commercial space better reflects the historic character of the building while preserving its role as a community landmark. Haymarket has long sought to preserve its unique identity while accommodating responsible growth. I believe the Schoolhouse Commons proposal accomplishes both objectives. It improves safety, enhances traffic circulation, revitalizes an important historic structure, provides a more balanced land use than the existing zoning, and strengthens the character of the town without sacrificing its heritage. For these reasons, I respectfully encourage the Haymarket Town Council to approve Schoolhouse Commons redevelopment project. Thank you for your time, your service to the community, and your thoughtful consideration of this important proposal. Respectfully, Jason. This one is submitted by Jeff Kress. Before sharing my comments, I would like to thank the town staff and the applicant's development team for the considerable time and effort they've put They've dedicated to this project. Town Council for continuing to provide residents an opportunity to be heard and the citizens of Haymarket who have remained engaged throughout this process. I'm submitting these comments solely in my capacity as a resident of the town of Haymarket. I would like to focus on the public value being offered in connection with the Schoolhouse Commons rezoning. The 2019 Van Meter Smith property conditions included cash contributions for parks, public safety, transportation, fire and rescue, town administration, and schools totaling $19,316 per home, or approximately $734,000 for the 38 townhomes. The current Schoolhouse Commons proffer offers $50,000 for each approved unit above 54. At 58 homes, that totals $200,000 or approximately $3,448 when averaged across each home in the development. I recognize these are not identical applications and that the Virginia law requires residential proffers to be connected to impacts attributable to the proposed development. However, I believe the significant difference between these two contributions deserves a clear public explanation. Public safety is one area that particularly concerns me. Several neighbors in Green Hill Crossing and I have noticed what appears to be less routine police presence over approximately the past 2 years compared with when my family first moved here. I've seen officers patrol our neighborhood at least 3 times within the last month, which I appreciate, but before those, the patrols appeared much less frequent. I do not know the police department's staffing levels or operational demands, so I do not want to draw conclusions from observation alone. It does, however, make me question whether our existing public safety resources are already stretched and how additional residential growth may affect those resources. There's also significant economic value associated with this rezoning. At projected sale prices of $750,000 to $800,000 for 58 townhomes, gross residential sales would total approximately $43.5 million to $46.4 million. The $200,000 contribution represents less than 0.5% of the projected gross revenue. I am not suggesting that proffers should be based on developer profit, but I do believe residents deserve to understand how the proposed public contribution was determined. Finally, the applicant has repeatedly compared this rezoning with what could be developed commercially by right. If that comparison is central to the justification for Schoolhouse Commons, I respectfully ask Van Meter to prepare and publicly present a realistic by right concept plan showing commercial square footage, parking, access, stormwater management, buffers, and anticipated traffic. Before council takes action, residents and council should be able to compare an actual rezoning proposal with a realistic by right alternative, not simply a theoretical maximum. Thank you, Jeff Kress. The next one is from Stephen from True Vibe Brewing Company. Dear Haymarket Town Council, I apologize that I am unable to attend this evening's rezoning meeting in person. However, I am writing in support of the proposed rezoning at 14600 Washington Street from commercial to mixed-use residential/commercial. I own True Vibe Brewing Company, which operates out of the commercial building on this property, and I can tell you firsthand that this building needs the investment Greystone has stated they will make. It hasn't been well maintained for years, and the building and the property are showing it. Furthermore, the poor quality of signage and the lack of draw to the area detrimentally affect the tenants of this property. Greystone's plan to renovate the building, rework the parking, improve the landscaping, and add crosswalks and sidewalks is exactly the kind of investment this site has needed for a long time. I understand the traffic concerns some residents have raised, but I'd ask the town to weigh them against what's actually on the ground. I'd invite anyone worried about traffic to spend 10 minutes at the Walmart or Target nearby and see what real retail traffic looks like. I've heard claims that it takes 20 minutes to get to Walmart from here. In 4 years of operating this business and driving through town at all times of the day, the only time that claim has ever been true is when an accident blocked the intersection or there's a scheduled town event with road closures. On a normal day, it's under a 5-minute drive. Furthermore, the Northern Virginia community desperately needs housing that isn't priced near $1 million. 59 townhomes on underused field space paired with real repairs to a commercial building that's needed them for years is a reasonable use of this land. On a personal note, I've attended several of these meetings and watched the recordings of the ones I couldn't. The phrase I keep hearing from opponents is that Haymarket no longer feels like everyone's hometown. I'd ask what that phrase is supposed to mean if it doesn't include room for the people who'd like to live here next. A hometown that stops adding homes isn't staying the same. It's just deciding who gets left out. I ask the town to approve this rezoning. Sincerely, Stephen, owner of True Vibe Brewing Company. And then the last one I have is a bit more lengthy, and I want to take note ahead of time. It is a petition that was submitted from one of our residential neighborhoods. All of council has a full copy of this document. And for those who are not seeing it in the document, there are 3 pages of signatures that were collected along Blight Drive, Dogwood Park Lane, Sycamore Park Drive, Walnut Park Lane, and Cypress Park Lane, and one on Alexander's Keep. Okay. Petition to the town council regarding the proposed Blight Drive connection for the rezoning application for 14600 Washington Street. To the honorable members of the town council, we, the undersigned residents and property owners served by Blight Drive, respectfully request that the town council deny the proposed ingress and egress connection between the proposed mixed-use development and Blight Drive as currently presented in the rezoning application. While we recognize the importance of responsible growth and development within our community, we have serious concerns regarding the adverse impacts that the proposed connection would have on the residents who currently rely on Blight Drive as their primary and only means of access to their homes. Blight Drive presently serves approximately 73 residential properties and is expected to serve an additional 8 residential properties through a previously approved development, bringing the total number of residential units served by the roadway to 81. The proposed development would add 58 townhomes as well as commercial uses, significantly increasing traffic volumes on a roadway that was designed and has historically functioned as a residential street. Our concerns include the following. 1, increased traffic congestion and reduced accessibility. The proposed connection would introduce not only residential traffic from 58 new townhomes, but also traffic generated by commercial components of the mixed-use development. This additional traffic would be funneled onto Blight Drive and ultimately toward Washington Street. Residents already experience delays when entering Washington Street, particularly when attempting to make left turns. Increased traffic volumes are likely to result in vehicle queues and stacking along Blight Drive, worsening existing congestion and reducing the ability of residents to enter and exit the neighborhood efficiently. Because Blight Drive is the sole access point for current and future residents of the existing neighborhood, any degradation of traffic flow directly affects every household served by the roadway. Number 2, blockage of residential driveways and property impacts. As vehicle queues increase, cars may stack along Blight Drive and block residential driveways. Such conditions would impede homeowners' ability to enter and exit their properties safely and conveniently. Frequent driveway obstruction would negatively affect residents' quality of life and create daily inconveniences for families, visitors, service providers, and emergency responders. Additionally, prospective homebuyers may view persistent traffic congestion and driveway access issues as undesirable neighborhood characteristics, potentially impacting property values and the marketability of homes along Blight Drive. 3, safety risks to residents and children. Blight Drive currently functions as a residential street where families live, walk, bike, and recreate. Many homes along the roadway have young children who regularly use sidewalks, driveways, and front yards adjacent to the street. A substantial increase in vehicular traffic, including traffic associated with commercial uses, would increase the likelihood of vehicle-pedestrian conflicts and create additional safety concerns for residents. Higher traffic volumes, more turning movements, and an increased driver unfamiliarity with the neighborhood environment may reduce overall safety and negatively affect the welfare of those who live along Blight Drive. Requested action. For those reasons stated above, we respectfully request that the town council deny the proposed ingress and egress connection to Blight Drive. If the council determines that a connection to Blight Drive is necessary, we request that any approved connection be limited to ingress-only access into the development. Restricting the connection to ingress only would help reduce traffic exiting through Blight Drive, lessening congestion and vehicle stacking, preserve residential access, and mitigate safety concerns for existing residents. We appreciate the town council's consideration of these concerns and respectfully ask the health, safety, welfare, and quality of life of the current residents be given substantial weight during the review of this rezoning application. Respectfully submitted, the undersigned residents and property owners. I won't name off every resident that signed it, but again, we do have record of it. It is 3 pages worth of signatures, and their addresses are all right beside their signature lines. And everybody on council has this document. Those are the only emails that we have received as of this evening. Mhm.
All right. So that's going to take us into our consent agenda. Would anyone like to pull any of the reports from the consent agenda?
I would like to pull the police chief report.
Okay.
And I'd like to pull the finance report to discuss ARPA.
Okay. May I have a motion to adopt what we've not pulled?
Okay, Mayor, I move that the Haymarket Town Council adopt consent agenda items A, 1 and 2, B, 1, and C, 2 through 5.
A motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So the police chief report, Alexander?
Yes. And again, it does not need, I know the chief is not here today, so it does not need to be addressed. So something maybe you can get back to me. So looking on page 30, right? In terms of business checks and foot patrols, something I keep on noticing is it keeps on going up and up, right? In terms of the numbers of these checks and foot patrols. For example, when it comes to physical checks, in July, there were 5,440 checks, right? So first, before I ask any additional questions, what does that entail? And when it comes to business checks, what are our officers actually doing?
So as you'll note on there, there's 4 different types of checks. Personal contacts would be when they actually made contact with a live person and had a conversation. The second one on there is physical check. They're checking a business. The majority of these happen at night when businesses are closed. They're checking doors, they're checking for open windows, but we also have business checks during the day. So it's physical checks of a business. Foot patrols would be, for example, the commercial establishments where they're getting out of their car, they're walking through the whole establishment, the whole development area. Enhanced patrols are something that's assigned to them ahead of time. Problem areas where maybe we've had attempted break-ins, we've had people congregating, things like that. So enhanced patrols, we designate those ahead of time to known problem areas. But to specifically answer your question, physical checks, what's happening is they're physically checking a business. That's 440 businesses that were checked during the period of June 15th to July 14th.
5,440. Okay.
That's correct.
Well, that's a lot. And one of the reasons I ask is in one of the comments from one of the citizens, there was a comment about how they've seen a reduction when it comes to neighborhood patrols, right? So I'm just trying to get an idea of how does that compare? How does the business checks compare with neighborhood patrols?
From the oversight that I can speak for me personally, the oversight that I've done, I've not seen any reduction in any neighborhood patrols or business checks. So, you know, I know that a lot of it's foresight. They may not see the officers when they're driving by. They may be sleeping. I mean, the officers are out 24 hours a day. So, you know, I can't control what each individual sees when they're there. But what I can tell you is from my oversight, looking at body cameras, looking at cameras in the cars, and a lot of this majority of it is logged into their CAD system that supports these numbers. These aren't just numbers. The majority of these numbers are supported by checks that they're logging in our CAD system. So in regards to that specific comment, that's incorrect.
Okay. And is there a way for us to track neighborhood patrols? I know it sounds like, as you indicated, there's some technology behind the tracking of these 5,440, right? But I'm not sure if there's any such a solution when it comes to tracking number of neighborhood patrols, so to speak.
Specifically neighborhood checks, that they can be logged. It's kind of a tech issue and a CAD issue with Prince William County. When we create a call in CAD, it causes an alert in dispatch, and it causes them to acknowledge. And sometimes there's emergency calls going on, there's priority calls, because we are dispatched on the western side of Prince William County. So it's not just Haymarket. So as we know, the whole Sudley Road area of the Western District of Virginia is a high crime area and a high volume call area. We're on the same frequency. So what we have found is when we initiate those calls, it's causing the dispatcher to stop what they're doing, to recognize the alert, to acknowledge us on the radio. And when that's happening, there's other stuff happening as well that takes priority. So we're doing it with the business checks. We've actually grouped, that's probably more information than you want to know, but we've grouped the business checks into zones to try to prevent dispatch from constantly notifying us, which is constantly bogging down their radio when there's, you know, there's shootings, stabbings, robberies, carjackings, and things going on, not in Haymarket, but on the same frequency, on the same radio channel. So it's kind of been a fine line. We want to document as much as we can in the CAD, but when we do that, that triggers a dispatch response that they're acknowledging what we inputted in the CAD. So we have grouped the business checks into zones. You know, like Crossroads would be zone 1, the Sheets area, McDonald's would be zone 2. But in order for the officer to log those zones, they have to verify that they checked all of those businesses. So when we're at the end of the month, when we're looking at a zone, we know zone 1 consists of 35 businesses. Zone 2, don't quote me on the number, don't have it exactly in front of me, but zone 2 would be 18 businesses. And then that's how we get to this number, by adding the zone. So to answer your question, yes, it's neighborhood checks are there. However, it's going to cause a burden to the 911 operators that may be handling emergency calls.
Okay.
So that's something I'll be happy to discuss with the chief further. But that's just what I've seen on the road, and they do get aggravated when there's emergency calls going on and we're logging a neighborhood check. So just to be honest with you,
Okay.
that's what I've seen in the car and what I hear from the officers and the supervisors. So
We can certainly look into possibly trying to figure something out.
And again, to be honest, I'm a little bit surprised by the number, right? But this 5,848 or 5,440. But as you indicated, you know, for the most part, these physical checks are late at night, right? So, you know, a related question I was going to ask is, you know, is it time well spent, right? In terms of the business checks, this high number of business checks in comparison to things such as speed enforcement. But based on what you indicated, right, late at night checks, during those times, most likely there aren't a whole lot of vehicles on the road, right?
Well, I mean, I don't think that I can sit here and recall a specific time a business was broken into. There was an attempted break-in that I stopped one night when I was working at Brewster, working on patrol, and came upon a attempted break-in at Brewster's where there were two juveniles trying to get the door open. So I think proactive policing is the most important thing we can do. And if our numbers are low, specifically with break-ins, we have car larcenies and carjacking related things occurring all around us. As I'll talk about here later when I go through the rest of this report, you will see that we've recovered several vehicles from the Gainesville area due to our community camera system. So it's all around us. The crime number is extremely low in the town of Haymarket, and I would associate that to the proactive policing that we're doing in the neighborhoods in addition to the community. So I do believe time is well spent.
Okay, but when it comes to, one of the challenges personally that I'm noticing is the speeding, right? I don't know if enough is being done to address the speeding, right? We're tracking the data, right? I think you're aware of the excessive speeding, the number of speeding and so forth. But at the same time, if I look at the traffic related stops for the last reporting period, we're looking at 138 out of 138, there are 27 speeding summons, right? Just looking at the numbers, and then if I go back to the business checks, I'm seeing 5,440, right? Is that, just from the numbers perspective,
You have
from
to
a,
also add I understand, but you also have to add the calls for service to that, not just the business checks. The amount of calls for service, the reportable, non-reportable calls. Page 30, you'll see that there were, in that time period, 10 reportable calls. Most reportable calls are involve a significant amount of time. There are investigations that are taking place. There may be, plus you have crashes on top of this number that are reportable that have to be documented. You have 168 non-reportable calls. So that has to be taken into account, not just property checks. But we do understand the speed issue very well. And what I'll talk about here in a minute when I go through the full report is we did have a sit-down meeting with VDOT to discuss some things that we can do, and there are some things that are in progress.
but one key thing that you mentioned is most of these business checks are being done late at night, right? And as I indicated, I think our officers are able to dedicate their time to perform these business checks because it's kind of quiet within the town, less cars on the, on the road, what have you. Maybe that's what's happening, right? That's the reason why, but I just wanted to get your,
There are certain areas that officers are relying on. There's moving radar and there's stationary. And there are some problem areas that you can only run moving radar because there's no safe stationary place. If you think about eastbound Washington Street in front of Sheets, we know that that's a high area, a high speed area. When they're coming across the intersection from John Marshall, coming across 15 to come eastbound. But if you think about where an officer could sit between that intersection and Audi, there is no place. So that has to be taken into account in some of these areas. That's where the sign's reading some of these speeds as far as capturing eastbound. So we did just make a purchase on a handheld unit that's going to help us with vehicle calibrations, which may allow the officer to be on foot in certain areas. But you have to have a safe area for the officer to be without being struck. You have to have a safe area to pull vehicles over. So it's kind of a, it can be somewhat of a battle. We are going to be adding traffic checking details, and we are going to be adding sobriety checkpoints into our mix for later in the evenings to help with our traffic. But we're aware of the speed, we're aware of the crosswalks. It's something that's discussed frequently, and shortly I'll talk about our meeting with VDOT.
Okay, all right, thank you. One of the kind of solutions that was implemented, I believe it was for a short period of time, was this putting the decoy vehicles, right? But for some reason, I haven't seen them. It was, they were there for a short period of time. I don't know for how long, but all of a sudden they were gone. So if there was some sort of an update regarding that solution, next meeting, that'll be appreciated.
I can discuss the decoy car with the chief. I know it was left in a spot that
we were concerned about other people running into it at
Okay.
night, and maybe not being in the best location. We also have to make sure that our vehicles parked in a spot where we're not going to be dealing with a vandalism issue either. So,
Okay, all right, thank you.
yes, sir.
All right, anyone else on the police report?
Mayor, do you want to allow Lieutenant to go through the chief's report since it was not covered at the last meeting? I think that was the impression that chief had.
I was just about to ask for that.
Yes, chief had left that.
I know, I was just gonna say, we can do it now. I was just gonna cover the report, so sure.
Yep, let's do it.
Yeah.
then.
All right, so we'll pick up where we left off. I'm on page 30. We did talk about the reportable calls already, 10 reportable calls. This is for period June 15th through June 14th. I'm sorry, July 14th. 10 reportable calls for service, 168 non-reportable. There were 3 referrals to Prince William County during that period. Business checks, I think we covered pretty well there. So I'll flip on to the next page. Our average response time is 2 minutes and 15 seconds, and that's pretty hard to beat. So we're extremely happy about that. And that is our response time, Haymarket PD's response time to a call for service specifically. We did talk about traffic stops. I'll cover that again. 138 traffic stops with 53 summonses issued and 109 warnings. And that's between the June 15th and July 14th timeframe. You'll see the breakdown on the bottom of page 32 for the summonses. You'll see the trend for the traffic violations on page 33. 34 is the DMV grant quarterly reporting that we're in a period that continues through September 30th. The remaining amount in that grant is $5,559. Page 35 is the arrests for this time period. We had 3 misdemeanor arrests and 2 felony arrests. And as far as the hours spent on calls for service, which we touched on, there were 80 hours spent on calls for service and 25 hours spent on follow-up investigations. We had 18 backup requests from Prince William County to assist them during that time period out of town, just outside the town limits. Page 37 through 44 covers the traffic volume, the speeds, and the trends. And then I'm on page 45. So this is the status of our current projects and events and updates. We are continuing to interview e-summons vendors. I know our officers are really excited and hopeful that we can get e-summonses in the car. We have the printer mounts in there. We're partially there. However, our challenge right now is connecting an e-summons system to the Prince William County network. So we've literally been at this for a year and a half. So we continue to work on this. We're trying to make progress with this so we can digitize. We're trying to prevent the amount of time an officer spends on a traffic stop, which is in turn going to make it safer for them. It's going to put the officer on the road quicker. It's going to make it easier to issue more than one summons by changing the code or adding the code and hitting print again. And it's going to automatically upload the system. What we wanted to do is upload the summons to our records management system. And also at midnight, it will update to the Virginia Supreme Court system. So we're not hand delivering summonses to the court once a week. So we're still moving forward with that. There's still going to be a little bit of time involved with that. The reimbursement for the 2026 LOLE grant has been received. That money was used to purchase new portable radio batteries. As you all know, the FY27 Burn Justice Assistant Grant was received, and that's being utilized for the Community Resource Officer position, which we talked about in previous meetings for Sergeant Culbertson. That began on January 1st. And we have sent the required paperwork back to them, so it has been fully approved and ratified. So we're moving forward with that. We're really excited about that. As far as VDOT land use permits that the police department has applied for, they've been filed for Haymarket Day, Christmas and Haymarket, and Zip Trip. We did receive the approval for Zip Trip. You may know that it was initially discouraged or declined. The chief went back to them with numbers showing traffic volumes, and it was subsequently approved. So we do have permission from VDOT to close Washington Street down between Fayette and Jefferson for Zip Trip here in front of Town Hall. Also, the road behind the hotel is going to be closed, so people are not using that as a cut through. They're going to be routed, as we typically do, down to Fayette Street. There will be the full detour signs, road closed signs, event ahead signs. They will be placed in their place that morning. Chief Seibert attended the governor's micromobility device stakeholder work group, i.e. e-bike, electronic devices. That was a Zoom call on June 29th. Believe it or not, he was the only law enforcement official in the entire state that was on it. So that was very interesting. I actually walked in when he was doing the Zoom. So he was very well received, learned a lot of information, but it's in the beginning phases. So that was the very first meeting. From talking with other localities around us, it looks like Haymarket was one of the first localities that actually took action on this and were being used as a model. So whether it be there are some agencies and localities within Loudoun County and even also in Prince William that have looked at us and our ordinance. So thanks for that. DMV representatives audited the Haymarket Police Department grant files on June the 30th. All files and records were found to be well kept and accurate. DMV recommended no changes in our process, filing, or archiving. So I know Chief Seibert spends a significant amount of time making sure that's right. So we appreciate that. On June 17th, 26, we received a community safety camera alert, i.e. FLOC, for a stolen vehicle that was quickly located just outside of town. We located in town. It stopped just outside of town. The vehicle was stolen from Fairfax County, and while we were searching the vehicle, there was a crack pipe and cocaine that was found in the vehicle. So we did make that arrest. He was transported to the jail, so we were very, very excited about that. On July the 7th, we received notification from the Virginia State Police that we received a HEAT grant in the amount of $10,000. You may recall last year we received the same grant. That's $10,000 that will go towards the renewal of those safety cameras, $3,000 each. So we'll apply to that 10 to renew that in the next couple months. That's going to be a reimbursement directly from state police. You may have noticed the speed sign that was in front of Aldi during one of the high wind storms. The sign fell over. I believe that was July 5th. And it has since been repaired. We did have to send, the speed sign was okay. The solar panel was shattered. The pole was knocked over. Matt got the pole back up. We ordered the new solar panel. Speed sign is back up in front of Aldi and working. And that was put up, I believe, last week. So thanks to Matt for getting that back up as soon as the solar panel came in. I think the mayor mentioned this at the last meeting, but we're happy to acknowledge that Chief Seibert graduated from the FBI National Academy Command Course on July 17th, and he's going to continue with a National Command College beginning on August the 11th. I believe at Liberty University, and that's going to be 1 week a month. So he's excited about that. One of our portable message boards just stopped working. We did take that back to the location that placed the batteries in it back in October. The system was repaired and has been redeployed. You may have seen that directly in front of Sheets, that speed trailer, so the message board. On July 27th, the town manager, myself, the chief, and Sergeant Culbertson met with representatives from VDOT. Three of the high-ranking VDOT officials for this area met with us to discuss numerous things, from speed mitigation, town signage, pedestrian crossings. We talked about more of the speed signs, the town purchasing speed signs to erect. We talked about crosswalk signs. We talked about flashing crosswalk signs. We talked about flashing lights in the street. We talked about street signs, town manager talked to VDOT directly about street signs that were falling over in town, that the wind has blown over. And they did a walkthrough with the town manager and some others to take a look at some of those specific locations. Some of the information they're going to research and get back to us. We have received some information as far as new guidelines for putting up more of those speed signs on poles. So we are going to take a look at that. They seemed very receptive to now approving the ones on Jefferson Street, northbound and southbound, but there is an application process. And now they've told us within the last couple of days, they want that to be supported by speed numbers, which we'll be able to do. So it's just a matter of getting that submitted to them. We're going to meet with finance next week and specifically discuss the possible purchase of those, and I believe the town manager will have something on that. So it was very productive. The questions that we asked, I mean, we seemed to be very well received, I'll say. So we were very, very pleased with that. So I just wanted to pass that on. Prince William County Police has agreed to donate 2 mobile radios to us, which will be a savings of at least $10,000, maybe more. So when they upgraded to an encrypted system, it knocked some of our older radios out of the mix. So once we called and explained that to them, they were very receptive to that. So we should be acquiring those soon. We're very appreciative to that. 2 new part-time officers are beginning their FTO process. I'll introduce one here shortly. And the full-time position has been reposted. One of the full-time, our candidate for our full-time position had some medical situations. So he kind of got knocked out of the mix at his request. So it has been reposted. It's on the town website. It's on govjobs.com and numerous other locations. So we continue to look for a full-time position. We have interviewed several, and we believe we have one more interview this week, but we'll continue to interview until we find the right mix for Haymarket. Sergeant Culbertson has started the community resource officer position, as you all know. We're very excited about it. He will be making an appearance at the business roundtable. We will introduce him to the businesses and make sure that that connection is made so he can be the outreach and the front forward-facing person for the police department. We have started the bulletproof vest replacement program. Went through and started looking at the dates on some of those, and we determined that that's something we need to do ASAP. So we do have that in the mix. I think there's 8 or 9 that have just been ordered. The officers came in to get fitted for those. And then we're going to be applying for a bulletproof vest replacement grant through DOJ, which we expect, if it goes as planned, to receive 50% back for each vest we purchase. So that would be probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $5,000 to $6,000 that we'll get back if we can get that process going as soon as they haven't opened it yet, and they're not telling us when they're going to open it. It's going to be a surprise email in the middle of the night. So, but we're keeping our eyes open for that. So we're working on that, and we're happy to have those ordered. Within the next week, we're going to be applying for there's a DCJS JAG equipment grant that just opened. That's a $30,000 grant, and I think we're going to start looking at MDT replacements. Our MDTs in the cars are starting to fail, and if we look at the money is available for information technology, basically related things. So that will probably be introduced and discussed at the finance meeting, and we'll probably be moving forward with that in the next couple of weeks. So that is in the works. And we'd like to mention and make sure everybody knows about National Night Out tomorrow night. The times are different than last year, so just keep in mind it's 4 to 7 p.m. at the park. We'd like to see everybody there. We're excited about it. And there's going to be 25, 30 vendors there. So please come out and see us. We do have a crosswalk now, and there'll be an officer working the crosswalk. So we're excited. We're excited about that. So please come out, spend time with us and see us, and feel free to help us at the tent or hand out things. So I'd like to call Terry Orndorff up for a moment. Terry is one of our new part-time officers that we're happy to have and introduce tonight. He started with the process in May. Today is his first official day on the road. So we're happy to have him. Terry is a Marine. He served in Desert Storm and also in Iraq, where he received the Purple Heart. Terry retired from Winchester Fire and Rescue in 2019 after serving 25 years. Interesting fact, we just figured this out. I was dispatching for Winchester Police and Fire and Rescue when he was starting with the fire department. So he probably heard my voice on the radio. So we just figured this out the other day. So he did go through the Police Academy, Rappahannock Regional Criminal Justice Academy, which is a police academy that we use. He did graduate in 2012, and he was hired by the Strasburg Police Department as a part-time officer and worked there from 2013 to 2025. Terry currently works as an account manager as in charge of armed security at Summit Point Training Facility, which is the old BSR racetrack over in Jefferson County, West Virginia. So Terry's married, has a daughter and an eight-month-old grandson. So we're happy to have him. And this is Terry. So thank you.
Welcome aboard.
And Terry came from working in a small town environment like Strasburg. So we feel like he's going to be a great fit. So we're excited about it. So is there any questions?
Matt?
You mentioned before, I know this is a relatively new thing, but and you kind of alluded to it before with the e-bikes.
Yes, sir.
Obviously, this is a hot topic. I'm just curious. I know we're very much in the education phase. I'm curious how that's going. What's the reception been like? Especially because I'm assuming, and tell me if I'm wrong, that it's probably more juveniles that you're speaking with. So I'm just
It is.
curious.
I'm assuming that next month you'll actually start seeing the numbers because we have started to track our actual e-bike stops. You'll see our e-bike stops, and you'll see our e-motorcycle stops. And you'll see the summons amount, and you'll see the warning amount. I don't know of any summonses that have been issued at this point. We're using this as a learning period. What we're finding is probably 75% of what we're seeing right now is actually on the road. So about 25% is on the sidewalk, just from what our officers are seeing. But we should have numbers to actually put with that. But it's going to take a while to fully educate all of the e-bike users on what the laws are. What we find is most of the e-bike users are coming in from communities, developments all around us. There's very few e-bike users that actually reside in the town. And once they hit the town limits, obviously the ordinance is different than if they're out in Old Carolina or Heathcote. So they need to be educated. We have put together a brochure. I know Julia is working on it right now. We want to be able to hand the brochure with the laws and the town ordinance on it to the child or the person on the e-bike, e-scooter, e-skateboard, whatever it may be, so they can take it home and share it with their parent as well if they have any questions. We're concerned that they might not be able to go back and convey it to their parent or guardian appropriately. So we wanted to be able to come up with something that they could take back home and share it. And we also are in the process of working on an outline for our website on the PD side. And we're going to have a section in there that's going to be dedicated to that with all that information on there. So we can direct them on the brochure with a QR code to our website where they can get more information. So
I think that's very insightful.
yes, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone
sir.
else? Good.
I've got a couple.
Okay.
Sorry. You mentioned an acronym, MDT. What is that?
Mobile Data Terminal.
Okay.
MDT, I think Prince William County refers to it as MCT, Mobile Computer Terminal.
So it's the ruggedized laptop that everybody.
Ruggedized laptop. Right now it's the Panasonic Toughbook
Yep.
CF33.
And then I didn't know there's a shelf life on vests. Can you talk a little bit more on that?
The warranty and shelf life on bulletproof vests for most manufacturers, specifically the one we deal with Point Blank, is 5 years.
Okay. So you have a 5-year refresh cycle on them?
That's correct.
Okay.
And that's for our protection and their protection.
That's fair. And then lastly, now that Sergeant Culberson is, full bore with the CRO role, could we see him taking on more of the business checks?
So he will be reaching out, his contacts with the businesses are going to be making contact with the business owners, making contact with the business managers to establish that relationship. He's also working on a decal to put on their door that this business is patrolled by, Haymarket Police, and we have a partnership going on. He's also going to be updating the emergency contact list that we have for the businesses. So if we get a call at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, or there's an alarm going off, we'll be able to call the right person to respond to take care of whatever may be going on there, whether it be a break-in, attempt to break in, a alarm, it's usually an alarm. So his outreach is going to be crime prevention, as far as educational, contact with the business owners to make sure the emergency contact is correct. And he's also going to be doing this with the faith-based groups. I think there's a meeting that's already set for those groups. And also he's going to be reaching out to the neighborhood groups, the neighborhood watch groups, and doing a similar type of thing. So these concerns that we're hearing from these community members is information that they will be able to convey to him that he can bring back to us that will help us maybe direct our attention to problem areas or things so we don't have to hear, from a letter, we can hear it directly from them. So that's what we're trying to build, that relationship with the communities, with the businesses, with the faith groups. He's going to be working on a Secure the Faithful work group to secure the facilities better. We're going to be talking about securing businesses better. We're going to be talking about alarm responses. He's got a very, very full plate. It's very significant, but we're looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great benefit.
Yeah. Thank you.
In the confines of the grant.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Just for clarity, Lieutenant, and that includes the HOAs that he would be available.
That's correct. Absolutely. The
So-
HOAs, the neighborhood watch groups. I know a lot of the neighborhood watch groups over the years has gone dormant. So we're going to look at, and we're going to see what contacts have been made. I believe if we're talking specifically the Green Hill area, I think Prince William may have initiated that many years ago. So we're going to reach back out into those communities and find out kind of where that's at and what we can do to help if we want to do a neighborhood watch, or do we want to just do more patrols in problem areas. So we're gonna work on trying to figure out what's going on in each community. What do the community members want to see? What problems are they having? So stay tuned. We're looking forward to this relationship with the communities and the businesses.
Great. So I guess there would be an expectation that visibility will be increased, particularly what we heard earlier.
That's correct. There's actually a pre and post survey involved in it as well that we put in the grant. So when he goes out to these groups the first time, there's going to be a pre-survey that's done. How do you perceive law enforcement in the area now? And what can we do better? And then at the end of the 15-month grant period, there'll be a post survey that'll be sent out to see if we in fact made a difference and was helpful to the community and to the businesses. So we're excited about it. We're expecting big things. So
great. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Me
Alexander?
again. I might come across as being critical when it comes to our police department, right? That's not what it is about. It is about, trying to understand things better, to improve what needs to be improved, to gain efficiency and so forth, right? I've told the chief many times that I, my family, are beneficiaries of the police department, right? So I think maybe it's a good time, at times it's good to highlight the good things that the police department is doing, right? To that end, I would like to read this comment from the chief, where he indicates we have kept the crime rate low due to high visibility, enhanced patrols, and good investigative skills. This has given the town of Haymarket an A rating with an A+ in areas of violent crime and property crime. Haymarket ranks in the 80th percentile of safe communities. So that's
thank you
an
for that.
achievement, and
We're
just want to
we're
say thank
very
you.
pleased to, and I think we talked about this maybe in one of the finance committee meetings, but we're very pleased to have a experience level of about 15 to 16 years with their officers. So that makes a substantial difference in experience, quickly solving crimes, and just the knowledge, the crime scene tech experience. It makes a significant difference. Having a new officer work in a small town, and at most points, in most times of the night, it might be independently, like after midnight, with the exception of maybe a Prince William assistance to those calls. It's very important for us to have experienced folks working. That's why finding the right person for this full-time position is a priority to us, but it's very important that not that we just find a person, that we find the right person. Having an officer here with 1 or 2 years experience will not serve the town well. We need someone here that's experienced, that's able to work these crimes, these things when they come up, sometimes independently, and making a split-second decision. Experience matters. So that's why having a new officer right at the academy doesn't work in a small department. It's usually used as a stepping stone. So we're looking for maybe not 15 or 16 years, but we want someone that at least has 5 or 6 or 7 that has a significant amount of experience. So, but thank you for that. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. That's going to move us on to the financial report. Joe, you're the one who pulled that.
Yes, I did pull it because we talked in finance about reporting on ARPA. And I'm going to pass it over to the staff to give us a little update, since I think you spoke about that at the work session last week.
Good evening. Yes, if you guys remember, the last time at the work session, we had discussed about having to reclassify some of our expenses that we've done for infrastructure, repairs, anything that ARPA was meant to work for. I am happy to announce that it looks like we have accomplished that and more with Dante, with the National League of Cities representative. I just confirmed some of the breakdowns on reclassifying. I have talked to our auditors. There's no issue with us reclassifying the matters. To be very transparent, and for people who are out there listening, it's not that we're going to spend more money. It's just reclassifying money that has been spent. What this means on the back end is it just frees up some of the money, operational funds that we have already used, and it goes back to the reserves. What you'll be seeing is I'll be submitting the rate classification list to our auditors. They will have to go back and reclassify, probably reissue some of our CAFRs just to have it properly done. We will probably have to do a separate single audit, and that's just a treasury requirement for 2025, which is the current audit that we're working on currently, because that is where we have spent the majority of the funds, about 1.3 million when it comes to the bigger projects, the demo, the park, ongoing, and the sidewalk. So that is coming down the pipeline. I will be talking to the finance more about that. And obviously, if we need to do a amendment for the additional audit, that's something we'll come to the table with the council. But as of right now, it looks like we have accomplished what the intent of the ARPA is. So we will go forward with that.
You have a question? No?
I have a question.
Okay.
Will we be reclassifying expenditures associated with proffers or no?
No, sir, because we haven't, anything with proffers and grant, we kept it as is.
Okay.
This is strictly items that we spent infrastructure-wise when it comes to repairs, park sidewalk, HVAC replacement, stuff that we use our operational funds
All right.
for.
Thanks.
Okay. And then I have a question.
Will we be able to claim enough for a full burn, or what kind of percentage will be left over?
Good question. So as of right now, we have fully paid out 1.8 million. But because of our trash contract, we're allowed to recognize and reclassify the trash service, anything up to December 31st, 2024. There's an additional 72. So by the end, it should be about 1.9.
What was our amount?
1.7. So we more than spent more than what we were allocated, but obviously it works out.
And then just a clarifying, Ken asked my question, so thank you, Ken. You mentioned briefly there would be an additional audit possibly for 2025 because we're going through this process?
Yes, so during the Treasury, the ARPA rules and regulations, there was a $750,000 trigger one expense in the fiscal year. Anytime you spent over that 700, it triggered a single separate audit than the normal audit. And like I stated on the FY 2025, which is a CAFR we're currently working on, is where majority of the expenses we're done, and that's about 1.3. Because in FY 2025, the contracts were executed for the park demo, the sidewalk, and there was one more. I'm losing track. I think there was one more. I believe those two are the major ones, but it did trigger a lot of the majority of the funds there. And that's just to follow the proper procedures. And luckily enough, our audit team does have one of the persons that's very knowledgeable on it, Gabby, who is working on it. And I've actually talked to her when it comes to this situation.
Thank you. All right, anyone else? All right, thank you, Roberto.
Thank you.
Okay, so those were our two pulled reports. I would just need a motion to consent.
Mayor, I move that the Haymarket Town Council adopt consent agenda items B2 and C1.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Before moving forward to our remaining agenda items, I would like to propose a 5-minute break.
Yes, please.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, thank you very much. I appreciate that 5-minute recess. So we are now going to move on to the agenda items. And the first is the nomination and appointment of the liaison for Planning Commission. Do I have any nominations?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I nominate myself to the Planning Commission liaison position.
I heartily second it.
Do we have any other nominations? No.
Matt, no?
All right.
Stay
So with
quiet.
that, I will close the nominations. Do I have a motion to appoint Mr. Beignet as the liaison for the Planning Commission effective today until December 31st, 2026?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank
I
you
wasn't gonna
very,
repeat
very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Much appreciated.
We'll
All right,
see you
so
next
that-
week.
Okay. Maybe.
All right, so that's going to move us into our discussion and consideration of the rezoning application for 14600 Washington Street. Lydia, will you start us off, please?
Yes, I will. So our applicant, Greystone Siobhan, is back. He's gonna,
Bless you.
you brought a presentation, didn't you? No, you didn't today. Did you bring a presentation? You did. So he's got a presentation for us. Since the last time we met on not June 20th, July 29th. Yeah. The application has not changed. I will like to point out that what was discussed at the last meeting, specifically the additional 15 parking spots. Our applicant is looking for some feedback on that specifically before incorporating it into the plan. So if you'd like to provide some feedback tonight about that as well, that would be great. Just as a reminder, the council needs to make a decision by November 6th. There is a meeting date before that, November, I want to say 2nd. Let me look at the calendar real quick.
So effectively, it'd be the second.
Yes, November 2nd. We have our regular scheduled meeting that day. So Siobhan, you're welcome to come up to the podium.
I would just like to add one item of clarification. You don't have to wait until November 2nd's meeting, but you have until November 6th to make a decision. So if a decision is ready ahead of time, you have other meetings you can take a vote at.
So I have a question, if I may. So what happens if a decision wasn't made by November 6th?
I will need to get back to you on the exact outcome of that if it is not made by that date, and how that affects the ultimate application.
Thank you.
One more thing before Siobhan begins. At the very last page after the TIA, there is a technical summary that Grove Slade has provided to us. It has a list of the intersections that were looked at specifically. It's more for like quick glancing as we discuss, as well as the peak hour times that they list in the TIA as well. So just, you can refer to that a little bit easier as we discuss the traffic and so on.
I do have one more question. For the benefit of the developer, were they given the emails that were read into the citizens' time this evening?
They were not shared, but we can't, I'm sorry. We didn't share the emails
They
that were read
haven't-
in with Siobhan.
We will give them the.
They will be
packet.
provided.
We're waiting until after the close of business to collect all of them, but we'll give you the packet before you walk out.
Yeah, good, because I think there were some good comments made, both for and against, and it would be helpful if you're able to provide responses to those for us. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. All right, floor is yours.
Okay, well, thank you. My name is Siobhan Dosky. I'm with Greystone Companies. Kirk is usually here, but he's sick and he didn't want to infect the whole room.
Thank you.
He should be hopefully watching it remotely if he's well enough to do it. I wanted to thank Mayor Patter and Town Council and staff for allowing us to present tonight. So actually, before I go into that, I heard something in the last month between our meetings. And when I heard it, I thought I really liked it. So if you don't mind, it's not very long. I was just going to read it to you. I thought it was really appropriate for rezonings and for really almost anything, but especially rezonings. And it said negotiation is about bringing parties of disparate interests into an agreement that understands each other's positions and resolves those differences with compromises that advance shared goals. And, when I heard it, I thought, I think that's how we usually approach things, but I don't know completely to that level. And so I just wanted to read it because I wanted you to know that as I read that, I shared it with Kirk. And one of the things we wanted to pledge to you all is that, we take that to heart and we really want to work with Town Council and the town on doing, everything we can, honestly, to try to come up with a solution that works for all parties. And I know that's hard to believe from a developer, but it's true. I want to just start out here and say that I've gone through, this is very much the same presentation. There's only a few slides that are different. So I know last time we were here very late. And so I don't know how much was absorbed by any of us. I will go through a few of them if you want me to slow down or repeat or cover it more thoroughly, because some of them, like when we get to amenities, I'm just going to kind of flip through them and just show you what we showed last time. If you have any questions, feel free to stop me. But I just wanted to cover a few things that we have done so far, in the spirit of really trying to do things that we are able to do, that we're being asked. We've gone through a process, and I think administrative staff, planning commission, we're very good about providing feedback that we tried very hard to incorporate into the plan. And here are just some of them, is that, the crosswalk on Green Hill Crossing, the Lewis home that's staying where it is and being repurposed as a community center for the residents of Schoolhouse Commons. The fronts and sides of any townhouses facing Washington Street being full brick, and a brick that would be obviously through ARB, but ones that I envision, I love brick, is that it would be ones that are more like the ones I see in town, which are kind of a darker brick. We've added curb and gutter along Blight. We've done extensive internal sidewalks to make sure there's a lot of connectivity and that the people that live there can actually walk over, and get through the area. But also just people that live down Blight, live off of Washington, that there's a lot of connectivity with sidewalks. We closed one entrance. This was a VDOT thing. And the remaining Washington Street entrance became two-way. We made a lot of Washington Street improvements, including the sidewalks and streetscape, a right turn lane, a bicycle lane the full width of the property, and an entrance realigned with Green Hill Crossing, which is it may sound like not a big deal, but that Green Hill Crossing alignment is actually extremely costly because there's 2 high voltage telephone poles that need to move as a part of it. Then the residential here will provide great continuity with the surrounding communities, which we're surrounded really on 4 sides with residential. And it'll also help support the existing retail tenants. And many of those tenants, whether you know or not, are struggling. It's not an easy place to be successful. There are ones that are doing very well, but there are also ones that are struggling mightily and need help. We've said this before, the current residents are important to the community and to us as we plan to own the commercial long-term. We've added, I had to drive back home for that. Let's see. Oh, boy. Oh, I forgot. It doesn't work on that screen. We added a pedestrian path through the building so that it's shorter to get through the building and get to the rear parking. And we're preserving the historic portion of the school, investing in the building, the site cleanup. And on here, it says amenity areas, and those will be programmed generally during site plan, but I'll talk about what some of those might be programmed with. And bearing in mind, site plan's reviewed in town, so the town would be the one reviewing it and approving it. So, we understand that traffic is already an issue. We want to do all we can to minimize the impact that this development adds to it. Going from commercial to residential is a downzoning. It is a lower intensity in traffic. The proposed rezoning would produce about 1/8 the traffic of medium density by right. I don't say that as a warning or this is a threat. That's not at all what I mean. I say it because I truly believe it. I believe it is something that will have a negative impact if it's done by right. I just want to highlight that while a lot of people may not want a rezoning, there are times when a rezoning is maybe better than an alternative. I believe this is one of those times. At the last meeting, a council member asked about traffic counts if commercial was over 40,000. And to be honest with you, I didn't get it. I didn't understand why would somebody ask that question. If it's already bad at 40,000, why would you ask what would it be if it was more? And somebody was smarter than I was to know that I guess tables change. When commercial is over 40,000, that exact number, then I think somewhere between, I think it says it right here. If it's over 40,000 and under 150,000, then the tables for traffic change. Because all these numbers are just done by tables, right? There's a standard that they use, traffic group uses, and traffic engineers use. And those tables say, hey, if your development's this size, and you've got this many square feet of restaurant, this many whatever, you're going to end up with this many trips per day. And me not being a traffic engineer didn't realize that those tables change as you go up. And I guess between 40 and 150, they drop. Meaning, I guess there's the presumption more people will visit more store. I mean, people will visit more than one store potentially. That's all I can think of. But there's a reduction in the number of counts, if that's making sense. So it was a good question because, you know, if it was more, maybe it would be less. If it was a little bit more than 40, maybe the numbers could look less. And they do, in fact. So this table was done just to say, this is the original one, where it was about 8 times. This is what the residential is, and this is what the commercial we've been talking about is. It's about 4,000 something. So it was about 3,600 less trips. At 60,000, it's very similar, but it's still surprisingly a little bit less because the counts that the tables tell you are a little bit lower. But another good question would be, what if it was 42,000? Right, because 42,000 would be just over the number, and that would still be about 5.6 times, meaning it would still be a bigger reduction because at 42, it's a reduced table and lower number than 60, but it still results in about 5.6 times the traffic. So before somebody asked and we had to go back and recalculate it, I just wanted to show that that's 60, and you know that's how it would look if it was 42, which was just over the threshold. It would be about 5.6 times. Okay, you're up. There you go.
Thank you. And I do just want to specify something real quick on these tables. Another one of the differences is previously we had assumed a portion of retail, a portion of restaurant. I think one of the questions is if it was just retail, what would that number be? So that's also the difference with that second table, probably more so than kind of the change in square footage. I think the daily trips you can see are fairly consistent. The peak hour, especially in the PM, I think would be lower if there wasn't that restaurant use. So I know there is a question of, is 8 time conservative? I think it's still, regardless of what the split's going to be, probably 4 to 8 is probably the range of what that would be. So
can I add one thing?
Sure.
To that? Is since COVID especially, but really since the internet, I mean, since Amazon has been so big, it is extremely common that 60+% of a center is food. So, that's not unusual. If you didn't have that, if you go to most shopping centers, I think you'll notice it, that more and more of them are becoming very food intensive. And just because, more people are going out to eat than they are necessarily shopping. They're ordering online, but they're still wanting to go out to eat. So I just wanted to add that.
And then, so when we last met, the chief presented some,
That's you.
Yeah, I'm gonna start with this one. When we last met, the chief presented some of the Troun's traffic data. I think some of this was also in the report from tonight. I did pull this from the last time we were here. I didn't have access to those fresh reports yet. So I did kind of glance at them on my phone while we were sitting back there, and the data was pretty consistent in terms of the scale and the trends. So just wanted to note that this isn't the most accurate from tonight, but is what was presented last time. And since there was questions about kind of when our counts were and how they relate to these trends, thought it might be helpful to just talk through some of that. So our counts were collected in 2025, and then we applied a 2% annual growth rate. And so from these charts, you can see the westbound on the top, fairly similar between 2025 and 2026. Eastbound, the 2025 is drastically higher than 2026. I'm guessing that that's probably a change in camera location, or I don't think that there was probably that quite of a drastic, but it is showing that 2025 was maybe slightly higher than 2026. And then just in terms of the peak hour trends in the town, so we overlaid in the yellow our volumes from the TIA as compared to the trend that was in the chief's report. And think you can see in yellow, the volumes were generally higher, but I think more importantly, the PM peak hour was generally around the same place because, to clarify, obviously these are different days, different locations, so I don't think it should be a one-to-one comparison, but just kind of to give perspective on the peak hours that we studied, which were 8 to 9 and 4:30 to 5:30, and just showing that kind of that PM peak hour was really kind of the highest time, which is consistent kind of with the results we saw in our report. And then I know you've already seen this, and Siobhan mentioned a lot of these, but I think it's kind of helpful to see them on top and on bottom. So just summarizing some of the improvements that are being done, the removal of that one-way loop, consolidating the 2 curb cuts into 1, sidewalk accommodations, especially along the frontage. I think you can really see the improvements that are being made with the westbound right turn lane, the crosswalk across Washington Street, the bicycle lane continuation, curb and gutter, and then the sidewalk along the frontage. And I've already kind of in the past gone over a lot of the details of the TIA, so I'm happy to answer questions, but didn't want to kind of go over the same things over again. So just thought I'd summarize with the improvements that are being done. Am I talking about this?
Nope.
Oh.
Nope, I would have given you more notice than that. So there have been, early on, there were talks about a roundabout at, oh, there we go. Having a roundabout
Was working. There you go.
right there. And I know we've said financially this project won't support it, but I still want to just talk through what a roundabout there might look like. And I know this is going to sound like I'm not beating a dead drum about where I live. So I live down 15 out behind Pebs, in the neighborhood behind Pebs. Everybody familiar with that area? Okay. And so it's a road called New Road. And when I come to 15, I either come straight down New Road from Mountain Road, either come straight down New Road, or I go down Old Carolina. And it comes out a little bit further north. And I've lived there for 27 years. So there are 3 roundabouts. I'm sure you know that. There are 3 roundabouts in kind of a triangle on 50 and 15. And I've lived there long enough to been there before these roundabouts and after. And I can say definitively, they help incredibly. When I'm coming home and I'm driving along 50 or coming from Leesburg or wherever it is, and I'm coming home through them, phenomenal help. And I live in a way where I never go to I just go up, make that kind of left to the roundabout and go to the next roundabout. But phenomenal in helping the flow of traffic through them. And I would say it's probably almost indisputable. They're really effective. But that same efficiency that works for me on my way out, on my way home, works against me on my way out. So now, when I leave on this is really peak times, non-peak times, and I live, if you know the roads, I'm a distance from it, right? But it's a 55-mile-an-hour road. So when I'm trying to leave and it's a peak time, early morning, say, or later in the day, say 5 or whatever, and I'm trying to get out onto 15, it's a very different story because those very efficient circles create a lot of problems to find a gap where I can jump out. And that's what I wanted to mention here is, so yes, definitely a roundabout here would help Green Hill and Schoolhouse. Those that have lived here have got to see that before this was added, traffic was more difficult on this road coming through, but it was a lot easier to get out because now it flows beautifully through that circle. A circle here would make it very difficult for these people because traffic will flow really well, and it will improve things for these two intersections, and it will make, Blight, and every road along here. So we've got Susquehanna back here, Autumn, Blight, Coach Way, St. Paul, Carter Robinson, Madison, and Hunting Path, all along here. You've got 8 other intersections that would be detrimentally impacted by, any circle, and I don't mean just here, any circle that goes down here, all the places downstream will have a negative impact. This is not something just that I say. You can look up in the NCHRP, and it will tell you that it will improve the circle flow, the roundabout flow, but it will downstream will be, they will have longer delays during busy times. So the stacking will be longer, the delays will be longer at any intersection downstream from it. And I would venture to say, because a number of you have been here longer, even when traffic was far less on this road, it was easier to get out of these roads. So in the idea of what can we do, we've said, it's not something we could financially work, but what could we do, and what could be done? And also, just as an aside, circles tend to be more difficult with pedestrian safety. Getting through a roundabout that's got four crosses in it make it very difficult, and it's certainly more dangerous for bicycle safety. So it has some advantages, but it has many disadvantages. And so I wanted to throw out all these things, including our crosswalk, including having signs on Blight Drive that say no parking. They are subject to VDOT. But hopefully we could partner with the town in getting VDOT to work with us and approve some of these. But these are highly effective traffic calming ideas that would not negatively impact anybody downstream, and it would actually help everybody along the way. So, and I'm sure there are other ones. We'd love ideas on other ones, but these are ones that we had come up with that we thought we'd share. Is, having a speed camera between Piedmont Roundabout and Green Hill Crossing, having your speed, the sign, the radar that's got your speed on it, and it starts flashing if you are speeding. Because a very normal thing that people do, I think the chief talked about it as well, was they come through the roundabout and they start accelerating a lot, which also makes it really difficult to get out of Green Hill or any other road. So if we had something like a camera that said your speed, it just kind of wakes you up to be a little bit more cognizant of it. The one I truly like the most is a raised crosswalk on Washington, where we're proposing putting a crosswalk, put a raised crosswalk. And those are usually 5-6 feet wide. They usually have a height that is about curb height. So you can walk right onto them from the curb. They are serious impediments to speeding. You really have to slow down to get over them. I know that probably VDOT is like, they're not jumping for joy about them, but they are the places I've seen them in neighborhoods are extremely effective. So these are just some of the ideas I wanted to throw out. Certainly willing to explore them. Any other ideas, we'd love to hear them. But I felt like these were things that are feasible for us to be able to do, and that I really do believe won't have a negative impact on other people, on other intersections, but it would overall be positive. Oh, wrong one. So I went through this before, so I'm going to go more quickly in the next few slides, if it's okay. I had mentioned before there were talks about concerns about parking within the development. And so we had hired a traffic consultant or a group to do a traffic study or counts of parking. So we had these counts done. And the peak times were, well, so we did studies on June 10th and June 13th. So almost like a Wednesday and a Saturday. And even during the peak times, there were still 18 and 29 excess spaces. And the average time, they were like 74 to 72. Keeping in mind that we're going to own the retail, parking is really important to us, and it's really important to our customers. You can't really have successful retail if there's no parking. And these counts, by the way, are using the 15 less spaces that the residential would use. If you remember, in our count of spaces, 15 of them are going to be marked residential only. So these are only using the spaces, the 132 instead of the 147. That makes sense.
Siobhan,
Yep.
can I just add there
Yeah.
that the proposed parking that you're looking to potentially add, that accounts for additional 15 spaces. So those 15 spaces you've taken off of there, you can tack back on, correct?
Yeah, it's right here.
Okay.
Yep. So in this one, we added 11. This is a different version of the same plan. And as we looked at it, when we saw how far it dropped, even though it was still 15, 20 above, we still don't necessarily want to get that close, right? Because there could be something going on that was more than those days. So we added 11 here, and we added 4 here. Those would become the dedicated ones for the residential, and it would leave 147 then for just commercial. It does not mean, residential is not restricted. So it doesn't mean that if somebody was having a birthday party and they needed more spaces, they wouldn't have them. They're not restricted from using commercial. I think we've mentioned before, we've done mixed use. We've done it in hotel and commercial. We've done it in residential and commercial. And it truly does work really well. I mean, in general, they don't tend to overlap. The people get up, the other spaces are available, the residential leaves. It really does tend to work very well. I mean, that's one of the reasons mixed use does well, parking wise. And this is the one, because we can't submit two to you. We'd love some feedback on, does this make sense to you? Do you like it? Should we replace the other one with this one? And then this just gives you the exact same table with now the number being 147. And you can see that at the peak times, we now have 33 and 44 there. And the average time we have 89 and 87. So we have a lot of parking there. It ebbs and flows, but it stays pretty good. And then these we've seen before, just some examples of what the elevation might look like. All these things go through, the elevations and stuff will all go through ARB. And I'd mentioned that during site plan is usually when programming happens for amenities. Because these things take, we're probably another year and a half, ballpark, a year and 3 months or whatever, before, well, a year and a half easy before you're actually doing anything. So with that, you really want to know how's the economy, how's the market, who the best target market is for the residential. So these are some of the example amenities for young children, teens and adults, and pets. So to summarize it, we really want to work with the town and come up with a solution that works for all parties, a buildable solution that works for all parties. The existing plan incorporates a lot of community feedback and town comments. We understand traffic's an issue, and we want to do everything we can to minimize the impact of this development to add to that. Residential fits in with the existing use and character of the surrounding properties and adds much needed housing. We mentioned before that we were originally approached for commercial, just didn't feel like it would make any sense here. We're preserving vital community assets, enhancing vehicular and pedestrian safety. We're investing over $3 million to enhance the Washington Street streetscape, add the crosswalk to Green Hill Crossing, add the stormwater capture, new parking areas. We'll remove all the stored trailers, equipment, and other junk that negatively impacts neighboring Robinson Manor. The rezoning approval means a downzoning of the site, resulting in about 1/8 the traffic of a by right development. The rezoning supports the existing small businesses that are at the site. And we'd really like to work with you so that you feel comfortable supporting this rezoning. Thank you. And if there are no questions, no, I'm just kidding. Yeah. Joe, you have any questions?
Yeah, I have a few.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that.
That's all right.
Anybody else want to jump in? Okay. So, well, first of all, thank you for coming back.
Thank you.
And sharing your thoughts on that. There are some opportunities, it sounds like. I just want to go through, I don't want to go through this whole thing. I mean, we could, but then I think everybody would probably shoot me. So I'm not going to do that. But I am going to ask some pertinent questions, I hope. And it'll be for both staff and you, I think. So let me just start with the Planning Commission resolution of, what's that, PC number 2026-001. And that was a recommendation for approval. Now, that approval and the Planning Commission, I just want to clarify for the public, because I think everybody needs to hear stuff like this. That is advisory only. They don't have the authority to approve a project. They're just recommending that the project goes forward. Would you like to elaborate?
That's correct. So when we get a rezoning application, it's first reviewed by staff, the engineer, myself, town planner. And then when we find that the application is ready, it's actually brought to the town council to send it to the Planning Commission for review and for them to look at and make a recommendation. So then ultimately, Planning Commission holds public hearings. They then hear the application, make a decision, and they are recommending a decision to the town council. Once that recommendation goes through, we schedule it back with town council for the appropriate public hearings. And then the town council is the governing body that has the final say on the vote of the application for approval or denial.
Okay, all right. And depending on how that goes, there is the appeal process.
That's correct. There is appeal processes in place as well.
Okay, good. I think that's important for people to understand. Now, I continue to have some concerns about density. I think I shared that with you all last summer when you first came into us with the back of the envelope concept. But if this project were to go forward, and we did reduce the number, if there was an agreement on reducing the density and the number of units, one of the things that I was thinking about just the other day was what happens to that remaining space in place of the units that were reduced. And one of the things I was thinking about is making sure that they're considered open space, if in fact that happens. And how do we ensure that that happens? So would anybody like to venture on that and explain perhaps or expound on how do we ensure that the additional space remains open and not developed in the future?
Do you mean like alternative as developed for commercial use or additional residential use?
Whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So what I would recommend and suggest that the town council keep in mind, and Siobhan, while I'm stating this, can you pull the GDP back up for us, please? So something council needs to take into consideration and remember is that when you're looking at a rezoning application, quite often what you are doing is you're making a decision and you're approving a document. And in your approval or denial process, you are going to relate it back to the documents that were submitted to you. So you would relate it back to the GDP with the most recent date that shows the visual of exactly the layout you're looking for. What we then do as staff is when they come in for a site plan phase, you have language that you've put forward in a motion that says the development will be developed in the nature and the liking of the GDP with, I'm just going to say a date, August 3rd, 2026, as discussed at this meeting. So if you want to hypothetically remove 4 units on Washington Street, the ones that front right there, then you would want to ensure that the next GDP and visuals that you see has the open space, if that's the discussion that council has. If it's please remove 4 units and let's talk about density, then, the applicant can also come back with a different alternative layout, having those units deducted from what you see on the GDP. So you just ultimately need to make it very clear in any motion, whether it's approval or denial, that you're relating it to a GDP with a date, and it is the visual that everyone understands that's what they're voting on. And it shows open space where open space is expected. It shows room set aside for amenities and labeled as such. And on that note, if it's, for example, my vision's not as good, I apologize, but let's say the front in front of QBE says that we're going to save this space for a gazebo. It's going to be a public amenity. So they don't need to get into the fine tuning detail of that gazebo, but they can put those words on the GDP. And then that is something that they would be honoring during the site plan. And it's something that staff can hold them to during that phase.
Can I add something to
that-
that?
Sure.
I'm sorry.
I was just gonna, did that address, I tried to detail it in full so that you guys also understand the importance of staff needing to see a generalized GDP, generalized development plan, and exactly what the governing body is voting on, whether, again, approval or denial.
And this is kind of the pretty version of it, and the packet that has the GDP has, 11, 12 pages or something like that. And this is one of them. And the other ones are a little bit more site planish looking, where they've got very specific things, including how many square feet, I believe, of open space. So it's pretty detailed about that aspect of it, even this early on, including how many parking spaces. So, it's not like we can say we're going to do this, 162, and then we pull a fast one on you and it's 158. It's in the table. And last but not least, once that site plan's approved, if it were approved, we can't come back 3 years later and go, we decided to add those 4 houses.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we would have to go through an entire new process to do it.
Right. I thank you for that clarity because, there are a bunch of folks that are focusing on this, and
I
it's
understand.
important for them to understand exactly what that
Yeah.
process is and how they're protected going forward. All right. You raised another question, but I'll come back to that later. And thank you for the clarity on the date for the decision. That's
Mhm.
good. So I do have a question about this factor, this 3.2 persons per household, and how that is established. That's probably more a question for our staff.
Okay.
Because you're following the process.
Right.
The 3.2 per household, when they do their calculations on the number of people that would be deemed to be living in the community based on the number of units, right? So it's 3.2. And I'm curious because I got a question from others about what about the growing incidences of multi-generational households? I mean, that's a fair question, and I'm sure it's averaged out, and that's where you get 3.2. But can you explain where that number 3.2 comes from, and how often is it adjusted, either up or down? Is there any thought on that?
Mm-hmm. Do you want to?
Yeah.
And I know, I'm asking questions that, people want to know.
Absolutely. So the 3.2 standard is something that we look at Prince William County and other jurisdictions, and even sometimes what state codes are putting out and what standards are expected across regions. So we're going with that standard that is put out there by other jurisdictions, and it is what I would call the professional acceptance standard. When you start to have the conversation of multi-generational dwellings, I don't think that zoning codes have adequately kept up with that. That is something that we see often in a lot of our communities, not just here in Haymarket. It is seen across the board. I do know that we do have neighborhoods and developments who are trying to combat that through HOA guidelines. And so they're trying to enforce some stricter standards when it comes to this maybe wouldn't apply in this development, but being able to have basement dwellings and what that looks like. I know that Prince William County, other counties are surrounding us also go through that process of what do additional dwelling units in the home look like? At what point is it triggered? A lot of times you have to have the kitchens down into the basement so that then is triggering a dwelling. But if it's multi-generational families, you do not necessarily have multiple kitchens. You have a shared kitchen space and you have multiple bedrooms. So that kind of leads us back to our zoning code. That's a very important reason we need to stay current and fresh on it and looking out there at what the industry is doing and keeping up with that. To answer the 3.2, it's a standard that we go with out of the industry. It's an accepted standard across the board. I also know that some of the school board numbers drive some of those standards of how many people are expected in the homes. And then they tailor it right down to if it's a condo unit, an apartment, a townhouse, a single family. So we're really going off of what I would call industry standard.
Right. No, that's great. That's fair. And I guess what I'm trying to get to is it could be, initially 3.2, but it could also increase, especially where
That's
there's
correct.
turnover,
Mhm.
So, I don't know if that's something that could be provided, another, I guess, a back of the envelope analysis on a greater factor. Just throwing it out there, whether that's even viable to do or not. But I was just curious, and as are some other people, where that number came from. So I think you've answered that. So thank you very much. The transportation analysis.
Can I ask something?
Yes, go ahead.
Is that with regard, because I guess parking is a different
Well,
calculation.
it impacts everything. It impacts the schools, it impacts
Ah,
transportation.
okay.
It impacts the number of people in the.
I understand, I
Okay.
understand. Yeah.
And so it drives all of the analysis.
Services and other things.
Right.
And
Understand.
I would kind of remind everyone, when we think of a townhouse, we're typically thinking of a residential dwelling that maybe has 3 bedrooms, might have 4. And so they're going off of, it goes off of a very, standard practice of what a family unit looks like. And that's not necessarily kept up with times either. So it's going to go based off of there are most likely 2 adults and 1 child in the dwelling. And then you start getting into the 0.2s when it's families of 4, families of 5, or just a couple living there, or maybe a single adult. So you're going to get the changes, you're going to get the point people there. But again, the industry standard has not necessarily kept up with, I would even say, post-COVID dwelling numbers that we see.
So it wouldn't be a stretch to say that Greystone is following the standard that we've adopted.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
That's fair. Can I ask you the square footage of each unit? Because you mentioned something earlier, a rough.
The way these are situated right now, they are, I have to calculate it real quick, but they're predominantly 24 by 45, 3 stories. So I can't do the math that quick.
You want me to do the math?
It should be approaching 3,000.
Okay.
In your last proposal, did you indicate that a couple of the units would be smaller?
Yes.
Yeah, there were a few of them that needed to be 22 in order to get enough room on the ends to get the height allowance. But there was only like 4, I think. We did put in the plan that I can't remember how we worded it, but that a minimum of 4 would be less than 24. So they could be a little bit smaller. They can't be bigger than what we've shown. They cannot be bigger than 24 by 45. I mean, candidly, with what we're really looking at right now, they're probably going to end up being 24 by 40, but it really ends up what the market is at that time and how it could be different. So we have it kind of sized to the largest it would possibly be, but they could end up smaller. And we checked with staff, and smaller was not going to be an objection. Couldn't go higher, but it could be a little bit smaller.
That's on the cover sheet. It's
Yeah.
0.18 at the very bottom.
I have it. That'll follow. Dave, did you figure out what the?
3240. 3,240 square feet.
Oh, okay, that's pretty good size.
Yeah.
Pretty good size. Yeah.
And bearing in mind, that includes a 2-car garage.
That's not livable space too.
No, but it's in that square footage.
Yeah.
So it's probably over 500 square feet, or about 500,
Yeah, so yeah.
somewhere in that range.
Okay, great.
So it's about 27, I think, of livable.
So I'm not going to put the transportation engineer on the spot, but I will put you on the spot.
Okay.
No. So the transportation data is more than a year old. Is there a possibility to refresh that and let's see where we are with that, with the numbers? And, see what that shows.
Well, the good thing, and I'll let you speak to it, but I mean, one thing I'd like to point out is you have really good data.
Yeah, we do.
I mean, the police data.
Yep.
So it's like, we could easily use that data and just reuse it, but I think did you point out that it was higher or lower now?
Well, the westbound, I think, was about the same
Okay.
based on just the lines. It didn't have the numbers. The eastbound was higher. Again, I would probably
Right.
ask if the camera location changed. I will just note, just for clarification of kind of how the TIA process usually works, it's not abnormal to get to this stage and the counts are over a year old because rezonings typically take around a year.
Right.
So just, and this is not directly answering your question, but just to give context, the VDOT requirements is that it should be within the past 2 years. That's their standard, just for clarity.
That's a fair, okay.
And that's just the nature of how this process works. You have to do the TIA to submit, and then it takes about a year to get here. So just by nature of that, the counts will be about a year.
But I would also point out that sometimes that data, we lose that data because the systems are out. And that can happen. So that could reduce the numbers that we're showing in our reporting as well. So just as information.
Yeah, and I can pull the VDOT data as well. I don't know that I have it with me, but VDOT publishes an ADT for each year. They're slow, so I think they might have just released 2025. But we did look at the 10-year history before that, and it was averaged about 1.3% or 1.5% per year growth, and we used 2%.
2%. Yeah, you escalated at 2%.
Correct.
Right. Okay. All right. Thank you. So now I think I read somewhere the town, and correct me if I'm wrong, town, requested a stormwater narrative to address the developer's plan for treating quantity and quality. That's correct, right?
Yeah, so there, in the plan that's provided, there is an inclusion of what the stormwater will look like. And John has spoken several times regarding best practices and intentions to treat both quality and quantity. And so everything's mentioned in the plan.
And you guys, you're satisfied with the narrative or?
Still under review. Yeah, I would say it's still under review. As of right now, is there any particular questions that you had regarding it?
Well, I have a little agita sometimes because when we say we're going to wait for the site plan, and that kind of takes us out of the equation for the most part. At least I think so. And it would be nice to understand and know what that is in front of a decision, if that is at all possible.
Yeah, the system is in here about the discussion on it for it. Let me pull up it's on page 10 out of 11. It's the blue box. in the top right-hand corner, the Coltech system. And the Greystone does intend to buy credits to help treat as well.
Okay.
I can
For-
speak to that if you'd
Yes,
like.
please.
I know-
Go
I
ahead.
saw you.
But
yeah.
buying
Yeah.
credits.
So let me explain why.
Okay.
Typically is that, because we've done developments where we have not bought credits and we've treated on site. In a residential development, it tends to greatly escalate fees. And the difficulty of them actually maintaining those systems and keeping them so where they actually function correctly is generally very low. So, and it really does escalate because there's a real cost ongoing to maintain the system so that it continues to filter correctly. So what we found was that in commercial developments, it's a little bit easier to do because they're just financially, it's a little bit easier for commercial. But it's much more challenging for residential, and it really makes the unit itself less affordable. Even though they're already expensive, when you start adding, 58 is not a huge number. So when you start adding $50 a month or whatever it might be, you just try to limit fees that are going to be unnecessarily added to it. And since credits are a good alternative, we typically go for credits if it's residential like that.
Okay. Thank you, Siobhan.
Yes, sir.
Can somebody explain a little bit more about the exemption from the buffering requirements to the east? So it sounds like this project is taking advantage of the other project that was built in Prince William County with respect to the buffering. Why wouldn't we require that additional buffering for our side of the property?
So you're speaking about Robinson Manor and the existing fence line along Robinson Manor?
Correct.
So there is an existing fence line along there. The town ordinance does have standards set for what kind of buffering, what level of buffering between between types of uses. So commercial to commercial use, because where the commercial lies, it relays on the other side predominantly commercial, and then where the parking is, it relays on the other side some residential. To allow for more parking in that area, we have allowed them to add landscaping buffering as opposed to a hardscape. This will actually benefit the site a little bit better, because when you put one fence against another fence, you still have landscaping that grows between that fence line, and it becomes a nuisance to take care of, and it doesn't look very good. So instead, we're applying additional landscaping along that side. So there is going to be some buffering. It just will look different than what the zoning ordinance typically calls for in that case.
And I would like to add to that, another thought process that we've had through the years is that this is a revitalization of an existing historic structure. And so we're not asking the applicant to come in and move the brick school structure. We are asking that they clean it up, take care of it, and do new landscaping, and also in general, keep better care of the property. So with that thought in mind, we are more open to buffer waivers and requests of that nature, because we are recognizing that they're coming in with existing property conditions, and they're going to try to work around what's existing there. So currently, with the way the brick school's laid out, and then you have that access road that goes all the way around it, they're going to be reutilizing part of the access road for additional parking, but also access into that front parking lot area. So again, keeping with some of the site constraints that they are kind of taking over, we are a little more open to those buffer requests.
Okay. Thank you. Kind of stream of consciousness, but not in any order here.
Can I add
Okay.
one thing?
Yeah, sure.
There were we've been asked previously some details about, what things are you going to do? And we've only more recently been talking in more detail with John and others about the how would what would the steps be in doing this development? And one of the things that we concluded that
That's my next question, but go ahead.
one of the things that we concluded was that it didn't make a lot of sense. We'd originally thought we would try to preserve parking, like the parking lot, and, just really mill it and redo it. But the reality is there's so many changes and so many things in it, and it's in such bad condition that, just for you all to know, we're not going to do a cheap, the lowest cost way to do it. So we are going to end up tearing up the entire parking lot everywhere around the building and redoing it completely new. So that it does look really nice and it is very inviting. It doesn't look like somebody who just tried to save every nickel trying to do it.
And not put a skim coat over the old.
That's right.
That kind of brings up something, sorry to interrupt, but that brings up something we were talking about was the stormwater mitigation. Does that mean you're going to regrade everything as well?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And one thing we have done, I know there are lots of things you do at different stages, but one of the things that John has done and we'd asked him to do earlier than you would normally do, because you do it at site plan, was because you can't, if we're showing townhouses in here and we've got stormwater back here, we've got stormwater here, it'd be a real problem if it won't fit. So we did go through and he went through much more extensive calculations to make sure it will fit. It doesn't mean that it'll fit in the exact footprint he's showing on the plan, but it will fit in the space we need it. He may need to make it a little bit deeper, but it will fit as planned, and we're not going to end up having to come back and say, it doesn't work. Like, we have to change the plan. So we want you to know we've done that to make sure that it will work as we've detailed it.
Excellent. Yeah, I appreciate that, John. That's great. Just hypothetically, I guess, can we talk a little bit about your thinking about how you're going to phase this project? Right? What are you going to do? How is it going to be phased? And how is that ensured not to change in the future? Because I'm really looking for like a commitment that certain things are going to be done up front. So maybe you can just speak to that.
I'd be lying to you if I told you that. I could tell you it right now and it won't change. So if that's really important, by the next meeting, we'll have meetings and find out to that level. We've spoken about it and like, how will we do it? But we didn't collectively agree that's what we would do, because it also involves the tenants. It's going to have an impact on them. There are going to be days in which they can't be open.
And that's where I'm coming
Right.
from. It's the impact on them. It's an impact on the neighborhoods.
Right.
It's the impact on traffic.
Yeah.
All of those mobilization and construction activities
Yeah.
that will have an impact going
Yeah,
forward.
so I'm happy to go back and get more details about it and, have a more solid plan. We were really in our first phases of where would the construction entrance be? How would that look? We've got some challenges that make it hard to decide an exact way. And one of them is how sewer will flow from the back of the site. And the potential for that routes it two different ways. And so it's very difficult for us to say definitively right at this moment, because we haven't landed on that. So, but we'll spend the next time between this meeting and the next trying to give you a more definitive plan.
That I would find very helpful.
Sure.
Yeah, and very useful too.
Okay.
In informing a decision going forward. Okay.
I would add to that as, with the assumption that this would get approved and we go forward with submittance for the site plan, I will add that Siobhan would be meeting with the town regularly, and those kind of updates would be documented and met as we go through based on the phasing that he provides us. So that would be kept up with the town as well.
All right, good.
Okay.
So we talked about the approval for demolition. I think at the last meeting, the approval for that section of demolition in the building.
Yes, sir.
So can you just, can you speak a little bit about the repairs that you would make after you demolish it and how you would closely align it to the existing structure?
So the demolition of you asked about phasing, that's the first thing that we're sure of. Like, the demolition of the rear would be the first thing that happens, because everything around the site is dependent on it. So we've brought in someone to get costs of demolition, but we've not gone. And so just to give you an idea, we're a smaller company. We spent about $300,000 so far. So one of the things that we do is we limit what we're spending as we're going through a process. And the more comfortable we are that we might get it approved, the more we're willing to go spend more money along the way. But generally, we don't spend money that we don't have to, honestly. And going through that level of detail for something that's not approved because most companies don't want to even come in and quote you for free, because that's what they're doing, of this great analysis of what you're going to do and what the cost is when you don't have an approved plan and you're literally a year and a half out. And if you've done construction, you can barely get somebody to give you a quote for something you're doing next month or 3 months from now. So, the idea that getting a quote for a year and a half from now is very difficult. And the level of detail is extreme because we have to know what is the exact phasing that's going to be before they're going to come in and say, but we do know things like where water's connecting, sewer's connecting, gas is coming in, things like that. But we've not gone through an extensive plan on exactly how will these get connected and disconnected. What we do know is the back building was the last building. It will be the least impactful, meaning it should have the least amount, from what we've seen so far, it has the least amount of connectivity to the front buildings. So if we were demoing the front building or the middle buildings, it'd be a real challenge. But, virtually none of the HVAC, very little of anything for the forward ones go to the back ones. So it's a help.
So that's good for the businesses that are there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's good from the standpoint of the demo is going to be easier.
Right.
As we've said before, we're trying to relocate the one business in the back and Schoolhouse and Cookies and Cream to another site, to somewhere else in the building.
All right. Thank you for that.
Sure.
One of the things I find is very helpful in a development is internal circulation signage. And I'm not sure, did you guys talk about that the last time?
So we have talked about that for a couple of meetings, and the consensus largely was that there will be internal signage, but placing it on the GDP, it, for lack of a better word, it clogs up the image itself, and it can be difficult to see all the smaller things on the GDP when you're marking where all the internal signage is.
Mm-hmm.
But we have had multiple discussions that there will be internal signage for stop signs and pedestrian crossings and so on.
And that gets handled where, in the site plan?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
They're all set.
But I believe it's noted in the narrative that internal signage. I believe so. That's more of a Kirk question, isn't it?
No, it's more of a John question, probably.
I don't think we really have.
Is that something you can kind of think about and bring back with us?
Sure.
For next time?
What kind of signage are you referring to?
Well,
Just to be clear.
circulatory, basically how people go in and go out, how they would go around the building. Is it going to be one way? Is it going to be two way?
Right, like circulate, like meaning drive aisles and things like that?
Yeah,
Okay.
things like that.
Okay.
And also, I want to segue into one of the comments that was made tonight, and I'm not sure if you really heard it all. We had the benefit of reading it, but there was a proposal by folks from the villages of Haymarket about the ingress egress off of Blight.
Mhm.
So you probably haven't had a chance to really think about that. And that would be something that would be tied into that, and how the traffic would circulate to improve their ability to get out of Blight Drive. So if that's something we can share with Siobhan and company.
Believe me, it went straight into my brain, but I would love to have a
Okay.
copy of it. I will say this, and I said this before, is that what benefits one hurts another. So,
Understand.
and we
So-
brought this up before, was that if we don't exit from Blight, then everybody exits right across from Green Hill.
That's right.
And it's really going to become more challenging. So again, it's not that we would love to do all these things. What we're just trying to do is strike a balance that has minimal impact.
Understood.
But you know,
But the question was put out there, the
Yeah.
idea was put out
Yeah.
there, and I think we owe the folks a response. and,
Absolutely.
You know, a careful analysis of what they're
absolutely.
proposing
Yeah.
and why or why not it
Yeah.
works.
And I know you've asked before about, I know you have a high concern about blight, but also you've asked about a left out and being able to get it a little wider. And we're going to really look at that. In the spirit of what I read to you, you know, we're going to do everything we can to see how feasible is that? How can we make it work? What can we do about it?
That was going to be my question
Oh.
in regards to that email.
Okay, great. Sorry, I
No, that's all right.
don't want to step on you. So there was some discussion in your analysis about the park, the town park or the
Yes, sir.
parks that you're using. Do you know what the potential adverse impacts? I'm not really sure the question here myself, but did we include our town park in the analysis? Or was that in there?
You added it in there.
You added it. So since the last
I
time,
mean, in the analysis for impact,
Parks and Recreation,
I
yeah.
believe it was in there. I think at first they did, and then you asked for it to be added. Yeah.
Okay, all right, good. I'm fine with that. So this is my own question.
Lydia's challenging me to expand on that.
Okay.
I mean, I can.
No,
Okay.
it was added. I will say that the consultant who did the report and the analysis of it stated that with no park plan in place and no CIP dedicated to the park, there is very minimal, if no impact to our town park.
That's right. Is that the way they do these, now that you said it, it reminded me, the way they do their studies is based on future budgets, future costs,
Level of service.
level of service. So without that information, they're not able to say what the impact is.
Yeah, because you're not programmed.
Yeah.
There's nothing-
So that was so there obviously will be some impact that's next door, but they couldn't quantify it. So they just said, we can't I mean, that's what the actual report says. I believe it says, we can't quantify it. We can't report on it.
Understood. Just a little, my own question. Did you guys consider 55 and over in this community? Like the
Yes.
neighboring community?
Yes.
What was the results of that?
I can't tell you that it won't be.
Okay.
I mean, I think I mentioned before, I mean, if it was definitive, I'd say absolutely, because it's a lot easier to get it approved. In most jurisdictions, if I said this is 55 plus, you know, a lot of these questions about cars and traffic get diminished, a lot of the impact. But I couldn't swear to you that that's actually the truth, that it would be that. I've firmly believe to traffic counts and everything else, absolutely 50% or more will be that. But I can't tell you that it's going to be restricted to it.
So it's not definitive, but you're not excluding that.
No, not at all. And I would, you know, just depending on the economy, like right now, I think I had mentioned this, was right now, what is the predominant seller?
Yeah.
Is 55 plus. You know, the people are selling what they've got. They buy it cash or near cash. And everybody else is worried about 6%, 6.5% interest rates. They're not worried. So if you go look at what's being built, what's being sold, it's selling very well to 55 plus. It's not selling well to 30,
I would agree.
you know?
I think you want to follow up on that?
Just curious, is that even for 3-story townhouse?
Mhm.
Could have thought there is a net.
Yeah.
That's the question.
Yeah.
Yes, there is.
Yeah, even, which I was surprised, because we've looked at doing developments even in Winchester, which I would not have thought there'd be a lot of people moving from these areas out to Winchester that are 55 plus. I don't know why I thought that, just how I think about it, but absolutely, because they can sell what they've got here, go buy it for cash there. And, you know, Winchester is exploding from it. They've got a Costco. I mean, I was like, wow, you are on the map. Back in the day, if you had a McDonald's, you were on the map. Now it's like, you got a Costco.
Yeah, based on what I've seen, 55 plus usually is like one story, right? So I'm just surprised that.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
Well, I'll say this. That's more like if you're, like, you're probably not gonna get a lot of people that are 75 moving in, right? But 55, nobody's feeling that old. They're just not wanting to be maybe around a bunch of screaming people, but they're not necessarily thinking of themselves. I mean, I'm 63. I'm not thinking of myself as, oh, I'm not going to be able to do stairs. And a lot of people that move into them, it may not be their last home. They may be 55, but they may be thinking this is for the next 10 years or so.
Anybody else have a question?
You can ask a question, follow-up question.
Are you finished, Joe?
No.
So can I ask a related question?
I'm sorry?
So in terms of the 55 and
Yeah,
plus,
go
can I
ahead.
ask? So what would make that convince you or make the case for you to designate this as a 55 plus? What is it that what goes into that decision making? Just curious.
What would make us say absolutely? If we were, that's a great question. We haven't done 55 plus. We've talked about doing it. I guess it would have to be a space that, generally the people that do them, that's really what they do. And so they know that market, they market to, that's their customer base and that's who they market to. It's a pretty safe thing because, as I said, that's who's the buyer, but it's also a limiting factor. If we go into that and rates drop down to 4%, and now you've got all these buyers that want to buy and you can't sell it to them. And that becomes a little bit of a challenge. If you get into a market where the economy drops, and usually the only reason rates are down is the economy's down, well, you really need buyers. Collectively, nobody benefits the town or the developer or anybody or the homeowners of a 1/3 way filled neighborhood. So really, it just limits who your customer is. And my personal opinion is I could not predict the next 4 years or 5 years and how things will be in any level. Everything I've ever thought is wrong. So when it comes to predicting where it will be, all the experts are telling you rates are dropping 2 years ago, and they're not dropping. They haven't dropped. So
You'd be a wealthy man.
that's really it. What's that?
You'd be a wealthy man if you could predict.
Yeah.
So can we just talk a little bit about the crosswalk?
Yes,
'Cause
sir.
You hit on that earlier and you
Yeah.
had some thoughts about that. So in your analysis, you talk about VDOT approvals, but that's not going to happen until later. Isn't that something you could have been working on all along?
They will not, and you can speak to it, but they will not look at it until until it's approved and we're at site plan.
Okay, so all right, so that's an important question
Yeah.
for some of the neighbors because they're really
Yeah.
concerned that, all right, there's really no guarantee it's going to happen.
Right.
And particularly from Green Hill.
Yeah, and they're really, and it is true that there is no guarantee, but I think we've said we would bank the money for you, meaning we're not trying to do it, or we would have every intention of getting them to do it. And if for some reason we can't get them to approve it today, and we want to keep working on it, we will pledge that we'll bond it. That whenever we can get it approved, we'll put it in. We'll pay for it.
Okay, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Just for staff, real quick, the concurrent reviews, is anybody else reviewing this?
The concurrent,
Like any other agencies at this point, not until after it's approved or?
they do submit the plans to VDOT for review, and we do review those. I've included them in the past in our staff reports. There were no new comments, that's why it's not included today, but they are included in your past packets. And then there was a concurrent review of the demolition and then the rezoning approval. So ARB was reviewing at the same time that town council was.
Right. Okay.
And the only other thing I would add is we have sent it to Prince William County a couple times for 1 mile review. We've received no follow-up. The planning director I spoke to back in the fall said, please send it over. And we never had any follow-up. So I don't know if that is something that you might want to take up with our supervisor's office, but we have also looped them in the conversation several months back regarding the application and no responses from Prince William County.
Okay.
I think that
And the
generally
school
means they
board.
love
That
it.
includes the school board as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask about the school board because typically they'll weigh in.
Typically, how we submit our rezonings for 1 mile review is we send it over to a single point of contact and they route it out. In this instance, my point of contact was Mr. Venegas, and he said, send it on over, I'll route it, and we've had no feedback.
Can we follow up and see if they have
We have followed up with no feedback.
with no feedback?
That's correct.
Whatsoever.
That's correct.
Okay. Duly noted.
Mhm.
All right. I think that's about it, but it would be helpful based on the emails that we heard tonight, because you obviously have heard what people are thinking. If we could get some kind of feedback from you on particularly the petitions proposal, okay, that would be helpful. And what the impacts of that might be, depending on the scenario, right? And then also, there was a comment that were talking about the downzoning, mixed use versus B1 commercial. I think you've answered a number of those questions, but if you could do something a little more succinct so that they could understand what your position is on that, you know, whether it's commercial or, you know, the mixed use, that would be helpful.
Okay.
And that's for
I'm not
now.
really, so beyond what we've done, how would you like to see it differently?
Well, I mean, something that's
clearer,
that's organized.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just easier to read.
Easier to read in kind of like.
Not a table.
Well, like in one page or.
Understand.
You know.
Understand.
Like an executive summary kind of a
Okay.
thing. That would be very helpful to
Okay.
explaining the difference.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they were asking for a comparison.
Yes.
They're asking for a comparison of by right and then what is being proposed as the
Correct.
downzoning.
Okay.
So if it's a visual, that's great.
Okay.
I would say, you know, one of the things I've been asked for, an executive summary with citations to whatever material was cited within that. So that if
Okay.
somebody wants to go deeper, they can, but, you know, an ability to answer the question.
Okay.
That would be helpful.
If I can ask, what we had asked previously about meeting with council, separate from these meetings.
Right.
And I know that there's some discomfort sometimes about doing it. It is very helpful to us, especially in this time when we're trying to, you know, it'd be very helpful as you ask these questions to be able to show you some of it and be able to say, that's not what I mean at all, rather than us showing up here, you're looking at it and saying it, because then we see each other once a month. So, you know, it's not anything that we want to ask you other than just feedback. That's really it. So if you can make the time, you know, we'll accommodate any time that works for you. But it is really helpful to be able to garner some feedback as we're going along so we can try to work together and give you something that you like.
You want me to respond to that?
Of course.
Please do. I appreciate that. But I think for me personally, I think it's best to have it out in the open.
Okay.
In the public eye. Transparency, people, you know, can see what we're talking about. They can understand it. And if they have follow-up questions, they can always, you know, send them to the town and we can get back to you on that and
Okay.
have the staff be the intermediary.
Okay.
That's my position.
I would concur. For me, it's very important to provide the transparency and all the notes. So I happen to be somebody who may have thought, oh, I missed something, I want to go back. And all of that is there for them to do so.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What if we did everything via Teams and it's recorded? And you just can publish it. Everything that's said, everything that's done, meaning anybody who wants to see what it is. And I'm just throwing it out there. You don't have to answer me, but that way you know, it's not to hide anything. It's really just to garner feedback between meetings.
It's
Yeah, it'd be
with
a
a public meeting issue.
Oh, if it was one person?
Two.
I know, I'm just saying if it was just one person, we just record it, you can publish it. Just think about it. If it's no good, no problem.
I mean, I will say right
Understand.
now, I would prefer that it stay on
Okay.
a full council
Okay.
level.
All
So
right.
that's my
I
opinion.
pressed it as far as I'll go. Okay. Sorry about that.
And finally, this I was reviewing, And I just have a question for John, perhaps, on stormwater. You're talking about field survey, and the last field survey was 2013, 2014, I think. It says here, dated February 1st, 2014.
Probably so.
Right.
Yeah, there was an Alta survey done on the property, which is, a comprehensive survey. Shows all the physical improvements, the existing topography. It was done, I think, in 13, and then additional shots were taken probably in 14. But we do have more recent data as well, because
You do.
around the building especially, some of that got built how it got built.
Right.
No, in other words, we needed a record of what's there.
So does that require an update then to this at all? Given the.
What do you have there?
The plan.
Oh, the GDP plan.
Yeah.
That's reflected on the plan. Currently, I probably do need to revisit around the front of the building where Xandra's, the seating, that parking or seating area, the patio areas, to make sure that is exactly as I have it shown. But
Right.
That's really the only area that's questionable at the moment.
Well, that's one area.
Okay.
And can that be done by the next meeting, perhaps?
been done.
It has been done.
I've got the
Okay.
data. I just need to.
All right, good.
So I just want to clarify. The reason he's saying that's what needed to be done is because the rest of the land didn't change. So because some things got built during COVID or whenever, and they may or may not have been, documented, we wanted to get shots of exactly, because he's working on how would this place grade out. If we were grading it out, you'd asked about grading. So if we're grading it out, we really need to know exactly how it slopes. Well, the other parts didn't change because they're a field. But those parts, if they built a sidewalk or built they changed. So we've got to know, how did that change? So they shot all around the building pretty much.
Yeah, and around the Cookies and Cream building, we picked that topo up at some point. I don't know if that was, can't remember when the building was moved, but we picked that up after the building was moved and final
15, 16.
constructed, developed.
Yeah, I think that was 15, 16,
Yeah,
somewhere.
yeah.
around there.
So we've got, some piecemeal additional survey from those periods of time as well.
Right. Okay. Just last question, thankfully. So the flood zone determination, I'm noticing in here on note number 5 that it be bearing an effective date of January 5th, 1995. So that's 31 years ago. Has there been any update to the flood zone given climate change and other impacts?
That's taken from FEMA's firm maps.
So that's from the feds.
The latest and greatest. I'll double check it, confirm that there's been nothing done later.
Yeah, and you can understand my concern because of the stormwater issues.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
FEMA just released a new map.
Did they?
I think they did.
Right.
So could you double check that and let us know?
This is kind of a top of the divide type area as well. Blight Drive is basically the high point, the water's draining down from there. So
Exactly.
I don't think there are any floodplain concerns in this location, but again, I'll
Okay.
double check the effective date.
All right, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And
Can I ask a quick question
Yeah.
related to stormwater? Going back to the phasing, there's different ways to skin the cat. So I'd love to have input from your side in terms of what you see as priorities. When does the blight connection occur? What do you want to, what is the priority for maintaining in place while we're constructing a portion of the site? Again, there's different ways to approach this, and I know you're looking for that information, but it would help to know where your priorities are. And I'm not saying you're all on the same page, but
Right.
you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So
we'll sit down with the staff and discuss it.
yeah, that's what I was hoping, is that either you guys through staff and then we sit down with them, or there's some sort of direct or indirect communication on that, because it would just help me and us to be able to come up with that phasing plan that you're looking for.
Okay.
And we just end up with a better chance of bringing you what you like, rather than, we'll just take a shot in the dark and,
Right.
you know, hope you like it.
And that is very important, because once we're done with this academic thing, you know, on paper, there's going to be that period of construction that you're going to get the calls, you're going to get the complaints.
No, Siobhan's going to get the calls.
Yeah.
I'll give my address
And
out.
we're all going to
I'll
think,
publish
why
it.
didn't we focus more on this or
Yeah.
figure this out ahead of time? So,
Yeah, I guess a little bit of medicine up front is helpful and useful.
yeah.
I appreciate your answering
Hey,
the questions.
John, can you stay up there 1 second? While you're up there, can you speak to what percentage on-site, what percentage of the stormwater will be treated on-site versus what percentage will be purchased through credits and so on to treat?
Right. So with stormwater management, you have two sides to this. You have quality and quantity. And BMP, best management practice, is quality. And then you have SWM, stormwater management, usually means the quantity. So I think your primary concern is with quantity. You're looking at areas downstream being impacted by the quantity, the increase in quantity.
Correct.
Because the quality is really just filtering the water in some capacity. And you don't really see the impact of that, right? You don't feel that or see that. It's just filtering the water. So to answer the question, for the quantity, we are designing the site so that the post-developed runoff during these design storms, 1-year storm, 2-year storm, 10-year storms that we have to design to, that the water is being released at or below the existing rate, the pre-developed rate. Based on my numbers so far, we're well below those thresholds. So I feel comfortable that the water being released from the site, either in this back corner area where this back half of the site drains to,
Right.
and then that water right now is, I'm sure you know it, but the outflow here, the water just kind of leaves the site, sheet flows across this green space, which is where the underground detention system is for Alexander's Keep, but it just looks like a grass area on top. And then it flows to a large culvert pipe that goes under 66. So it doesn't travel very far before it leaves the town and goes under 66. So that's probably a good thing that, you know, we don't have downstream properties in town that are being impacted by it. But the release rate here would be below the existing condition. We may have to implement what we call a level spreader or level spreader with plunge pool that will convert the concentrated flow back to sheet flow so that you don't have that energy component with that concentrated flow.
The velocity, right. Okay.
That's in the back of the site. In the front, I'll just walk over here. There is an existing culvert pipe that we would be discharging the water to right now. There's a ditch line that runs along Washington Street and it flows right into that culvert pipe. With the underground system there, it would be designed such that elevation-wise, it will release the water either in a pipe or at grade so that it goes into that existing culvert pipe in the corner.
Okay.
And again, that release rate would be at or below the existing runoff rate. I feel comfortable that we have adequate green space here and out front. We could even incorporate something here if we had to. We have adequate space if the footprint of the underground chamber system changes slightly. I have run pretty good preliminary numbers.
So the system is scalable, so to speak. You can expand on it if you need to.
If need be, yeah. But we've done pretty good analysis. You know, the site's very flat to begin with. The grading that I've done so far maintains or honors that existing grade, if you will, because you want to balance earthwork as close as you can. And there is enough fall to make it work. So the good news is we're not altering the post-development grades. We're not increasing slopes so that runoff speeds increase, velocity, that sort of thing. So all of that pretty much stays 1-to-1. It's just the main thing we're doing is increases the impervious area, the buildings, roads, sidewalks. which that generates more runoff.
All right. Thank you, John. Appreciate that. I lied. I have one more question. For Siobhan, our traffic transportation person here. Earlier you talked about the crosswalk being raised crosswalk. In that, are we talking about an area of refuge in the middle, or how would that look?
Yeah.
For somebody crossing.
I don't think there would be an area of refuge because there is that left turn lane into Green Hill Crossing, so we wouldn't want to restrict that by replacing it with a refuge. If VDOT would approve it, there's a couple of different ways you can do it, but typically if you're gonna have a pedestrian crossing, you want it flat and ADA compliant, so it'd be kind of like a tabletop and then go back down rather than kind of a hump. I will just say, like, we would just definitely have to work with the town to try and get VDOT on board with something like that, because typically they're concerned about their snowplows. That's kind of their big hurdle with those type of traffic calming measures.
George Mason University in Fairfax has some tabletop pedestrian crosswalk that you can, so if you go on Street View and go on Patriot Circle, you can look at some examples.
And that's why I said, if I request it, I don't feel confident I would be able to get it, but maybe in coordination, and it seems like you guys have been meeting with them with the police, maybe there's a combined effort that could be done there. But it would take a little bit more of a push to get that from VDOT.
And I think we have somebody here that lives in Fairfax, and maybe they can take a picture or two of it.
I will.
Okay. I was gonna say, my office is in Fairfax, so I can do that as homework as well if need be.
I will say, based on our last conversation with VDOT, they're not as excited about roadway mitigation on Washington Street.
Is that because it's a snow?
Snow emergency, it's the I-66 alternative. We will keep trying. We won't give up, but we had a meeting last week and it was not glowing remarks when it came to additional measures to protect our pedestrians on the street. So like flashers in the road was not.
I don't understand that, because if you go on 15, there are traffic calming measures up north of Leesburg and other places. There are traffic calming measures through the town of Middleburg. So I don't know why that would be problematic for me.
And I will note, like, the raised crosswalks, like, are a mitigation measure in VDOT's guidelines. It's just when you submit it, you get the pushback. So I don't know, maybe I'll just note that it is in their guidelines as an alternative. It's just they've been hesitant to accept it. And the reasons I've gotten is because of snowplows.
You know what page? No, I'm kidding. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. Are there any other questions? No.
Yeah, I'll just make a comment if I can. You asked for feedback, and I think that's fair. And I think we've said, for obvious reasons, we want to be in here. But I noted something that you said before, that you were kind of reluctant to kind of submit some of the updates with regards to the extra parking, et cetera. I would say simply, from my perspective, I would say yes, add it. Anything that you can do, that's been one of the primary concerns that a lot of our residents have brought up. I think anything that we can do there that is going to, help with traffic flow, help with parking, any additions to parking, helping with safety, those are the primary concerns.
Okay.
And I would say, I would, from my perspective, if you think we're probably going to say yes to that, that's going to be a yes.
Okay.
That we would want to see that. Doesn't mean we're going to, approve everything. It's just that anything that we can do there to show that that's being alleviated, along with some of the talking points we talked about before, that's really going to be very helpful for us to kind of get our own heads around it and get community support.
Okay.
So a couple things, right? So it sounds like for the next meeting, you're going to come up with some sort of a proposal to mitigate traffic impact, right? You mentioned the left turn dedicated, maybe the left turn. But in addition to that, right, what I would like for you to consider to come back to us with is, based on the various concerns, the petition, what have you, if we were to eliminate the ingress, egress off of Blight, I want to know, what does that exactly mean? What is the impact?
Sure.
If we were to limit it to ingress only, what is the impact, right?
Sure.
In addition to that, what I'm thinking is to mitigate, to allow for better flow of traffic, to lessen the stacking of vehicles exiting the property on Washington. Possibly, maybe you can expand that and have dedicated turn lanes on that side as well. That's what I'm thinking, right?
Meaning a left out?
Left out,
Okay.
right? One that goes straight, onto Green Hill, whoever wants to go continue, left turn, and of course the right turn, right? But it's probably just two, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's something that, and again, consider that and come back to us and let us know what's good or bad about it, right? Because I think you realize, you admit that traffic, this is not going to alleviate, it's going to make traffic related concerns worse than better, right? Yes, and we need to all realize that that's going to be the case with what you're proposing and the by right development, right? So that's going to be the case. So what we're asking is to come up with, with alternatives, right? Possible solutions to make it less impactful from a traffic perspective.
Sure.
Right, if you can. So, and we talked about, I know, the interparcel connection between that property and the next business. I think maybe you pursued that. Maybe it's not possible, right?
It's not right
It's
now.
not possible. Okay. And when it comes to
We
parking,
will continue, just so you know, we will continue to talk to them.
I'm just curious, are you able to share with us what their concern is or their objection?
They've had no interest. They have
No interest.
They have
So-
no interest in adding any traffic onto their site.
Can I ask a question? Who's they?
The owner of that.
It's the owner. It's not Prince William County.
The
you're
owner.
talking about.
Yeah, to connect to that. Okay. In terms of parking, concerns with parking, I know these amenity areas you indicated are going to be under the control of the HOA, right? What I'm concerned about is at some point, the HOA and these businesses coming to some sort of arrangement, agreement to host special events, what have you, on these amenity areas, right? If that makes, which was going to cause a lot. We know how many, what it means from a traffic perspective, right? How do we prevent that? How do we prevent the HOA? Is there any way to prevent that from happening? So that's something that I would also like to.
Okay.
So usually the HOA bylaws govern things like that, right?
Sure.
So I don't know if there's anything that can be done to, get ahead of the, such situations. That would be ideal.
One of the things that was asked of us was, would some of the land in the front be able to be used at some time for, a town event? Like they've had the beer garden, and we were asked about a farmer's market. Think about, it would be helpful to know, is that not something that's wanted?
From a parking perspective, I don't know how that's going to work.
It's been asked. I thought,
Beer garden,
Not by
maybe.
town, maybe by
yeah,
businesses who were
maybe.
saying they would
I thought
want
it
to
was,
host.
I thought we had spoken about, was before this was there. Maybe I'm mistaken, but I thought we had spoken about, was that something we could do, like when the town has their annual,
Oh, Haymarket Day.
yeah, Haymarket Day, could we do things? Right.
The town staff does not have any plans to farmers market.
Yeah.
Thank you, 'cause
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm sure I'm mistaken on it. Maybe it was just I think this year they did a beer garden. And so
Yes.
maybe it was just that,
Yeah.
I think maybe I mixed garden with farmer's market, but that's fine. But that was, sorry.
So the
but-
concern is with having such events translates into a lot more vehicles,
Parking,
parking and all.
yeah.
So it's not ideal, right? So we need to
Understand.
be able to prevent
Sure.
such events.
Also, there.
We have
an event.
I would say we have the event.
We have an event ordinance too, which has gotten a little bit more stringent, if I understand correctly, that
It
would be.
depends on the
is
number
subject-
of attendees and all that
Yes,
stuff,
Right.
right?
and the parking, I believe that includes the parking plan as well, that had to be
Yeah, I was
submitted
just
to the
about to
police.
say that the town usually prepares a parking we announce where parking can happen, and then we usually create a map to guide residents and visitors of where they can park in town for our events.
Yeah, but even events that don't attract or have the whatever threshold, what is the threshold, the number of attendees? Does anybody know?
50 or 100?
I thought I've got 100.
Alcohol is served at the
Yep.
event. And then it starts triggering the security plan, safety security plan, and the parking plan.
Okay, so 50, 100. If it's 50, it translates possibly 50 additional vehicles, 100, right? So I don't think that, once it's fully developed, it can accommodate the additional parking. That's what I'm trying to get at, right? So we
So
need
is the
to,
concern that the HOA would allow the commercial
yes,
to use the residential areas?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then we'll make note of that and put something together about how there'd be some restriction in the HOA.
Okay.
I can just tell you practically, in the ones that we've done, while they work well together, parking wise, HOAs are usually not looking to have commercial space use their residential simply because it'll put a lot of people on the ground, tear up the land, and there's no agreement to go fix it. So, but I'll certainly be more than happy to have something that says the HOA docs would contain language to make sure that they don't allow it.
Yeah, I would like to eliminate that possibility,
Understand.
basically, right? Because if there's no enough parking on site, we know what exactly what's
Understand.
going to happen,
Yeah.
right? So that's the concerns. But from a parking space perspective, I believe what you proposed is in line with our standards and meets our standards, everything, right? And are we taking into consideration when it comes to calculating the number of parking spaces, are we counting the driveways as 2 parking spaces for the townhomes or no?
No, driveways do not count in terms of parking spaces. Garages, garage space, the 2-car garages do not count. But the driveways do.
That's for storage.
And there are multiple driveways that are larger than the other ones.
3.
For extra vehicles.
Okay. But
So it's only being considered for residential, just to be clear. The 15 extra spaces are because there's a
2.25 is the parking standard for townhouses. The 0.25 is the required visitor parking. So every 4 townhouse units would equal 1 required visitor space. So the 2 driveway spaces are counted for each residential unit, and then they have to provide 0.25 of visitor, restricted visitor parking for the townhouse.
And that's what those 15 are. One thing I did want to mention is it had been brought up before, a concern from residents, that were here actually, about commercial. And there was a concern like, hey, if there's a commercial vehicle in the neighborhood, then they're going to come across the Green Hill Crossing or somewhere else and park. So just to keep in mind, it's unrestricted parking in the commercial. So nobody's going to go park off this property with a commercial vehicle when they can easily park right here on property and have no violation of anything. So just to ease some minds that, well, there's probably a greater concern that people from other areas will come park here than there is that anybody here is going to leave.
Yeah, so it's fair enough that they're meeting the parking standard, but I still have concerns, right? Even in what you're reflecting, showing here, looking at Alexander's Keep, I believe there are 12 townhouses, right? Right now, looking at that picture, there are about 10 vehicles parked on the street, even though they have garage and driveways, right? And again, I know you're meeting our standards, but I continue to have concerns in terms of whether or not this proposed development has sufficient parking spaces, considering both the commercial and the residential use. But again, you're meeting the standard. That's all we can ask of you, right?
Yeah.
We can't ask anymore. But yeah, please, so come back to us with the
We will.
solutions.
Do we have anything on this side? No. No?
No.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate everybody's time.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful night.
You too. Thanks.
All right, so that is going to take us to our last item, which is the Architectural Review Board application. Alexandria.
Hi. Yeah, I think it's the last page, 385. This spot's been vacant for almost a year now. Greg, did he pronounce his last name? His application, he's been a resident here for 5 years. He couldn't be here tonight, but he can come back to the work session for an interview if you'd like.
Yeah, this is the board.
Just the board.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, just filling an open seat.
all right. And then he'll be here on the 31st for introduction and questioning? Okay. Awesome. Did anybody have any questions?
No.
All right, thank you very much.
That was easy.
Yeah. So that's going to bring us to council member time. And we are going to start with you, sir, to my left.
All right. Well, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council. Another long night here. First and foremost, thank you for what we're getting here. We're expanding upon the information. We're continuing to expand on the information from the developers of Schoolhouse Commons. Got a lot of great feedback from residents of the town, which is always good to have, to be able to provide it to them to try to get this thing to where we might want to talk further about it, come to a decision. But I'm going to leave that be for now, though. But a lot of good things coming. We've National Night Out tomorrow night. It's a good thing. We've got summer concert is on the 16th, 15th. I know it's that weekend of the teens, the teen weekend, 15th. One thing I do want to put in here is that my wife's a teacher and she's grumbling because she's going back into the classroom on Friday. Means a lot of teachers are going back to work, which means students are going to be returning soon. So, I know Lieutenant Galbraith, you'll keep an eye on the streets, make sure that it's safe for the students walking around. But, anybody who's listening or watching tonight, make sure you pass it around because kids are going to be getting out and they're going to be walking to school. They're going to be going to the bus stop, and we need all be cognizant of that when we're getting on the roads in the mornings and the evenings. So that's all I got.
All right, thank you. Sir?
All I gotta say is late at night. Very late.
Should have been here in 2021.
All right, Mr. Passanello?
Yes, thank you for that reminder about the schools. And that'll be what, in 3 weeks? My goodness. I just want to make an announcement. Leopold's Preserve Fall Festival, September 19th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's really a fun event. Boxes of Basics are looking for some help, right? I think we all got an email today about that. I was at an event last night, the Coalition to Protect PWC were celebrating their victory on the Digital Gateway. And that was a fun event. And one person that was missing was somebody that had a lot of influence in that process. And we all know that was Bob Weir. So he was resident in everybody's mind last night. American Red Cross is looking for some donors. I think we all got the email too, did we? Yeah. I wish I could give blood, but I can't. But if you can give blood, please do. They're in desperate need. This is like a pretty bad shortage right now. Any level of blood, right? But mostly O positive is what they're looking for. And just the last thing is, thank you for all the comments that we got in the mail and the emails and well, not in person because we didn't have anybody speak, but I hope people continue to pay attention as we go forward to a decision here one way or the other. And oh yeah, one more thing. It's a BFD, that crossing, getting the bridge over the crossing, and that's just something I'm really looking forward to, but it's going to be a long time before we see it. So congratulations to all who worked on it and that contributed. And I know this council has spoken many times in resolutions in favor of it. So if we can continue to do that, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Not on public record.
A big deal. You can insert the
yeah.
other word.
Big friendly deal.
Big friendly deal. There you go.
There you go.
Mr.
Well
Larson,
said.
welcome back.
All right, well, I'm not really prepared for much since I did take a month hiatus. But I'm back spinning up. One thing I'm sure I'm going to steal some of the mayor's thunder, but the Zip trip is coming up on the 14th, and I'm excited. I'm going to try to arrange my schedule so that I can attend. And that's the 14th from 8 o'clock a.m. to 11 o'clock. Again, thank the citizens for their comments and input on this big decision that we're going to have to make with the rezoning. Continue to bring your concerns up to us. That's it. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Mr. Gallagher?
A few of my things have already been said, but made me kind of sit here and think that we're a really fortunate community, and there are a ton of activities coming up. Despite the fact, we've got National Night Out, we have the Zip Trip, we have the Summer Concert Series, we're in full planning on Haymarket Day in August. Obviously, we're all getting together. I want to just kind of call out what that means for our staff. And I really want to thank them. It is, currently, what time is it? Literally, my watch says it's time for me to go to bed. All right, but it's 10:50 p.m. and we're still even going into a closed session. The staff is still here. And I think this is something our community, does know about. They certainly talk about Matt a lot. We know how much he is loved around the community. But really, I'm looking around the room right now, and we have the police presence, we have the full staff here, and it's really impressive that we're able to do that as a community. So I just want to publicly recognize the staff for those who might still be listening. Well done, and thank you for what you do in keeping our town active and keeping it as a community where people want to live, right, and where a developer wants to bring more people to. All right, so I just want to thank you for that.
All right, thank you. All right, so I'm going to reiterate what everybody said because you are true. We are very excited about the Zip Trip, National Night Out and Summer Concert. Incredibly grateful for the staff and our police department. We do have the Business Roundtable.
Yes, we do have that too. I didn't mention that.
Yes,
We do have that.
That's next week. I am always very humbled when we have any veteran support. Flags for Heroes is quite the event. It's spectacular, and I encourage participation in that. And I will also reiterate the amount of interaction from the community in regards to rezoning. I love seeing the dedication in correspondence and showing up and sharing of opinions. I'd like to see that across the board on many, many subjects, but I am thrilled that we are having this interaction and opening the doors for communication. So with that, I will say we will move into closed session.
I move the Haymarket Town Council go into closed session pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A1 for a personnel matter involving the assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, disciplining, or resignation of specific public officers, appointees, or employees of the town, specifically dealing with the town manager and chief of police and the employee compensation study.
Motion. Second. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we have just come out of closed session and need to certify, please.
Okay, Mayor, I move that the council certify that in closed session just concluded, nothing was discussed except the matter or matters, one, specifically identified in the motion to convene in closed session, and two, lawfully permitted to be discussed in a closed session under the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act as cited in that motion.
Got a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Could I get a roll call, please?
Casanello.
Aye.
Larson.
Aye.
Gallagher.
Aye.
Hager.
Yes.
Capusella.
Aye.
DNA.
Aye.
All right. With that being said, is there any further?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Sorry.